Of course, a trump card like a hanging thunder that could go off at any moment should be saved for a critical juncture. After Iron Judge Tai finished practicing, he waved his hand and had his men lock the demon's skeleton back in the tomb chamber. He turned to Bai Yu and asked, "What time did the demon escape?" Bai Yu answered honestly, "I don't know." Iron Judge Tai's face filled with anger. "Who was on duty last night?" "Bai Yu, no one was on duty." "How many people were on patrol?" "No one was on patrol either." The anger on Iron Judge Tai's face intensified, and his eyes blazed with golden light.
"What kind of demon burying master are you?"
Bai Yu said helplessly, "Lord Tai, I'm the only one in this Xuanwu tomb. How could there be anyone on duty or on patrol?" Iron Judge Tai was instantly furious. "Just you? What on earth is Bao Qianqiu playing at? It's been so long, and the Xuanwu tomb still isn't fully staffed. He's monopolizing power. This Bao Qianqiu is living too comfortably. I'm going to report him to the general." Bao Qianqiu was Lord Bao, the Zongma Wei. For Iron Judge Tai to call him by his full name showed he wasn't afraid of Lord Bao in the slightest. Here, we must mention the official ranks in the Zongma Tower. The Zongma Tower was divided into 10 ranks, from rank 10 to rank 1. Above that were the general and king ranks. Each rank was further divided into positive and negative grades. For example, Bai Yu was a 6th rank Zongma Shi, equipped with 2 Simings, Lei and Hua, who were negative 6th rank. Lord Bao was a 5th rank Zongma Wei, equipped with 2 inspectors, Day and Night, who were negative 5th rank. Inspectors were assigned by the higher-ups and were not subordinate to the Zongma Wei. Instead, they had a supervisory function. This meant that the day inspector, Iron Judge Tai, had the right to supervise Lord Bao. That's why Iron Judge Tai dared to threaten to report Lord Bao. Meanwhile, in Lord Bao's stone chamber, a sharp-featured little old man said urgently, "Lord Bao, bad news. Iron Judge Tai has gone to the Xuanwu tomb." Lord Bao, who had been eating a pork knuckle, immediately stopped. "Why is that jinx back? Yia, did you see it with your own eyes?" The little old man said, replying to my lord, "I saw with my own eyes Iron Judge Tai leading his men to the Xuanwu tomb. My lord, if Iron Judge Tai finds out you haven't fully staffed the Xuanwu tomb, I'm afraid." Lord Bao snorted coldly. "Humph, it's that guy again, ruining my plans every time." He said to the shadows behind him, "Go, call Qing Feng over." From a corner of the stone chamber came a voice, "Yes." Before long, a handsome, magnificently dressed young man walked in. "Lord Bao, you were looking for me?" Lord Bao said lightly, "Qing Feng, I'm appointing you as the negative 6th rank Hua Siming to assist the Xuanwu demon-burying master Wu Chang." The handsome young man, far from being happy, frowned. "Only a negative 6th rank? Weren't you going to make me a demon-burying master?" Lord Bao said lightly, "Things have changed. That damned Iron Judge Tai came back early. You can only be a Hua Siming for now. However, if something happens to the Zongma envoy, the Hua Siming can directly take over. I'll assign you a team of Zongma guards. You know what to do." The handsome young man's expression softened.
"Don't worry, my lord.
I'll completely sideline him. Even though he's the Zongma envoy, he won't be able to command a single person. For example, dangerous tasks like demon burials, just let him do them alone. An accident is bound to happen sooner or later." The old lord nodded, this child is teachable expression on his face. In the Xuanwu tomb, Iron Judge Tai said to his subordinate, "Record this, an Inma-type demon attempted to escape and has now been suppressed and killed." Bai Yu, standing to the side, thought to himself, Inma-type? It seems there are other ways to classify demons. Iron Judge Tai turned to Bai Yu and added, "This demon must be refined with thunder and fire for 3 double hours. Only after there are no unusual signs can it be buried in the earth." Bai Yu bowed his head. "Understood, Lord Tai. Please rest assured." Iron Judge Tai nodded and encouraged him, "Wu Chang, you did well. Guarding the Xuanwu gate alone and stopping an escaping demon. That Bao Qianqiu is abusing his power for personal gain and monopolizing authority. I'll report him sooner or later." Just then, a voice came from outside.
"Olti, juve misunderstood me. Ive never monopolized authority. A mountain of a man, Lord Bao, Strodin."
Iron Judge Tai snorted coldly. "If you haven't monopolized authority, why have you delayed staffing the Xuanwu tomb? If it weren't for Wu Chang's quick thinking today, a disaster could have occurred. Are you truly not afraid of being held accountable by those above?" The old lord said unhurriedly, "I didn't staff the Xuanwu tomb because I had more important matters to attend to." He clapped his hands.
"Come in."
With a clatter of iron chains, the iron-masked Qing Feng and a foundation establishment expert, leading 18 Zongma guards, escorted a woman inside. Each of them was on high alert, gripping a chain and staring intently at the woman in the center. The woman's hair hung down, obscuring her face. Her body was naked, wrapped only in some water weeds. She wore a pair of bright red embroidered shoes. Even from a distance, one could feel a chilling coldness seeping into the bones. Lord Bao commanded without ceremony, a high-grade red demon. Qing Feng, take your men and lock her up.
Yes.
Qing Feng obeyed. The handsome young man led his men to lock the woman into the Jia-grade tomb chamber. Bai Yu, standing to the side, was secretly astonished. A high-grade red demon, in terms of rank, was equivalent to a late-stage to peak foundation establishment cultivator. But demons were bizarre and hard to defend against, so her strength definitely surpassed that of an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator. This was also the first time the Jia 1 tomb chamber was used to imprison a demon. He felt an extremely dangerous aura from this woman. Lord Bao said, "See? A high-grade red demon sent from the Songming kingdom. Even a golden core lord almost fell to her. Isn't this 100 times more important than the Xuanwu tomb?" Iron Judge Tai snorted forcefully. "Whether you're abusing power for personal gain, you know it in your own heart, Bao Qianqiu. I'll give you a piece of advice. If you don't want people to know, don't do it. The patriarch is watching you all from the heavens." He and his subordinates left with a flick of their sleeves. Lord Bao wasn't annoyed. Instead, he watched Iron Judge Tai leave with a grin. Only then did he turn to Bai Yu.
Wuchan, listen to my order.
This office appoints Qing Feng as the Xuanwu Tomb's Huasiming and assigns 18 Zongma guards to you. Bai Yu could only cup his hands and obey. The old lord smiled. "Get along well. If you do your jobs properly, a great future awaits you." Though these words seemed to be encouraging Bai Yu, they were actually meant for Qing Feng. After speaking, the mountain-like old lord also left the Xuanwu tomb. Bai Yu looked thoughtfully at his new subordinates. The Huasiming, Qing Feng, was in the early foundation establishment stage and looked like a scion of a noble family. These noble scions all carried an air of superiority. The other 18 Zongma guards were all late-stage Qi refinement, with codenames from Xuanwu 1 and Xuanwu 2 all the way to Xuanwu 18. After Qing Feng locked up the high-grade red demon, he came out with his men. He just gave a cold, perfunctory cupped hand salute. "Lord Wuchang, from now on, we are colleagues." After speaking, he directly led 9 of the Zongma guards away. The other 9 Zongma guards looked at each other. Anyone who could survive in the demon tomb was sharp. How could they not see that Huasiming Qing Feng had brought his own team and was clearly backed by the Golden Core Lord Bao? However, while Qing Feng could ignore the Zongma envoy, they, as minor guards, dared not be so presumptuous. They all came forward to salute Bai Yu. Bai Yu responded with a smile. He gave one of them, Yuan, an evil warding talisman and gave a few instructions, telling everyone to memorize the demon-burying iron laws. After that, Bai Yu also went straight back to his chamber. He could see that Huasiming Qing Feng had ill intentions and was likely here to usurp power. But he didn't care. He just wanted to peacefully conduct his send-offs. Power and the like were not things he sought. Bai Yu calmed his mind and began to meditate cross-legged. 3 double hours later, he suddenly opened his eyes. It was time. He could send off that escaped red demon. He left his chamber and went to the tomb area's main hall, only to find Qing Feng already sitting there with a group of people. Qing Feng gave everyone a look.
Not a single person dared to greet Bai Yu.
He had already arranged it. He was going to give Bai Yu a show of force. When Zongma envoy Wu Chang comes out later, don't do anything he commands. He wanted Bai Yu to know who was the real master of the Xuanwu tomb. A Zongma envoy who couldn't command anyone was just a figurehead. Qing Feng revealed a provocative smile, looking at Bai Yu. He had even thought of an excuse. If Bai Yu ordered them to go for a send-off, they would say they were new and needed to familiarize themselves with the regulations before they could act. However, Bai Yu completely ignored him. He went into the numbered tomb chamber on his own, collected the red demon's remains, and then went out for the send-off. This left Qing Feng feeling like he had thrown a powerful punch into a bale of cotton. Isn't a dangerous task like a send-off supposed to be done by the Zongma guards? Why did Wu Chang go himself so eagerly? Bai Yu had no mind to care about Qing Feng and his group's thoughts. Carrying a lantern, he went straight to the volcanic burial ground. With a flick of his suona, he buried the red demon.
Dust to dust, earth to earth.
From the Yellow Springs, there is no return. Send-off successful.
Reward, Dark Spirit Route +12, Life Experience +280,000.
Optional rewards, Shadow Shuttle, Red Demon Skin Shedding Art. Send-off participation, 72%. An additional reward can be selected. Bai Yu was delighted. Putting aside the Dark Spirit route and life experience, the optional rewards were very interesting. First was the Skin Shedding Art, a heaven-rank mid-grade technique. It was very useful. Peel off one's own skin, then frequently shed the shell. This was how that red demon had managed to escape the tomb chamber. But the technique was extremely bloody to perform. One had to literally peel off their own skin. It was more suitable for demons.
So, Bai Yu chose the other technique. Shadow Shuttle.
Shadow Shuttle was an Earth-rank high-grade technique that allowed rapid travel through shadows. Thinking of that red demon's ghostly movements, Bai Yu couldn't help but smile slightly. Next, Bai Yu played the Yellow Springs melody. His feng shui cultivation increased to 23. After the send-off was complete, Bai Bai Yu obtained the shadow shuttle technique. With a thought, his body seemed to disappear. The next moment, he appeared in a shadow 3 feet away.
Not bad, not bad.
4 short distance movement, its flexibility surpasses the earth evasion art, but it's not as good as the spirit Yuan wind treading. But most importantly, it allows travel through shadows, making it unpredictable and hard to guard against. Bai Yu was secretly pleased. He spent 1,000,000 life experience points to raise the shadow shuttle technique to the great accomplishment, perfected realm. He had spent all his experience except for his emergency reserves. Now he was a pauper again. Bai Yu was happy and in pain at the same time. He began to test the shadow shuttle technique on his way back. With each use, the distance he could travel increased significantly. At this time, Qing Feng was in the Xuanwu tomb, his expression shifting repeatedly. His real name was Ling Feng, a direct descendant of the Ling family, one of the 3 great families of the Liang sect. The Ling family had arranged for him to enter the Zongma Tower for a great purpose in the future. However, Ling Feng was not happy about it. The outside world was so much more fascinating, with wine, meat, and beautiful women. The Zongma Tower was full of tombs. In the end, a Ling family elder had to personally persuade Ling Feng, finally getting him to agree to enter the Zongma Tower and become a demon-burying master. Unfortunately, by a twist of fate, Bai Yu had entered first and become the Xuanwu demon-burying master. When Ling Feng arrived, he was dumbfounded. Fortunately, Lord Bao had ties with the Ling family and guaranteed that it wouldn't be long before Ling Feng could take over as the demon-burying master. However, Bai Yu just wouldn't die. In fact, he seemed to be getting more and more lively. In the end, Ling Feng could only become the Xuanwu tomb's Huasiming. Ling Feng was already full of resentment, and now that Bai Yu had taken his position, he hated Bai Yu to the core. A bumpkin with no roots or backing dares to be above me. He wished he could kill Bai Yu right now and take over the Xuanwu tomb master position. Before, he had gone to great lengths to prepare a show of force for Bai Yu. Who knew Bai Yu wouldn't take the bait and just happily went off to do the send-off himself. Ling Feng was so angry he could have spit. One plan failed, so he came up with another. He had to teach Bai Yu a lesson. He sat in the tomb's main hall, waiting for Bai Yu to return. Before long, Bai Yu returned, carrying a lantern.
Golden light shot from Ling Feng's eyes.
He abruptly stood up, about to make his move, but... However, Bai Yu swept past like a gust of wind, turning into a blur and crossing the main hall directly. He went straight to the Patriarch's hall, sat down before the Patriarch's portrait, and began to meditate. Ever since the near accident last time, Bai Yu felt more and more that the Patriarch's hall was a good place. It was filled with righteous energy, safe, and comforting. Being inside was particularly reassuring. Every time he finished a send-off, he would first come to chat with the Patriarch. Even if some evil thing followed him, it would never dare to enter. Bai Yu offered a stick of incense to the Patriarch and said to himself, "Last time, I was protected by the Patriarch. This disciple has come to express his gratitude. I don't know what you like, old man, so this disciple has burned some local specialties for you. Patriarch, please choose for yourself." With that, he burned 8 paper figures in one go, each one buxom and curvy, with yellow, white, and black skin, from various countries. He guaranteed the Patriarch would have a great time learning foreign languages. They were originally intended for Guan Yu. In the main hall outside, Qing Feng felt a lump of frustration in his chest, feeling suffocated. Damn it, why doesn't this person play by the rules? What's he doing in the Patriarch's hall? He waited for a long time and finally saw Bai Yu come out. He gathered his momentum again, ready to speak.
Whooshant.
Swoosh. Bai Yu moved like a gust of wind into his chamber, leaving Qing Feng disoriented in the... Well, there was no wind. Bai Yu didn't even need to think to know that Qing Feng was up to no good, either trying to seize power or stir up trouble. But Bai Yu just wanted to be a quiet, handsome man, sending off the dead and cultivating. Occasionally, he'd dig up someone's ancestral grave. Bai Yu returned to his chamber and began to cultivate on his own. Outside, Qing Feng had once again punched a bale of cotton and was feeling utterly frustrated. He hesitated for a moment, then finally couldn't resist knocking on Bai Yu's door. After a long while, Bai Yu leisurely opened the door. Bai Yu opened the door, revealing a handsome face.
King Feng?
What's up? Qing Feng cleared his throat. Lord Wuchang, I've already arranged the duty roster. Please take a look. Arranging personnel and assigning tasks was originally the right of the demon-burying master. There was a lot of cunning involved here. The dirty and tiring work would be given to outsiders, while the easy and rewarding tasks would be given to his own confidants. This way, everyone would compete to curry favor with him, and he could firmly hold onto power. What Qing Feng was doing was a complete overstep, encroaching on Bai Yu's authority. Bai Yu took the list and glanced at it. Good heavens, Bai Yu was not allowed to interfere in anything else, but the most dangerous task, the send-offs, were all assigned to Bai Yu. This was a blatant provocation. A Zongma envoy was a leader, big or small. Even if he didn't assign tasks to others, there was no reason for a leader to be assigned the dirty and tiring work. Bai Yu was furious. On the spot, he gave Qing Feng a thumbs up. Good. Well done. Let's do it this way. Qing Feng was suddenly stunned. Damn it, he thought Bai Yu would fly into a rage on the spot, and then he could call in Lord Bao to crush Bai Yu's authority in front of everyone. Bai Yu's reaction completely baffled him. Bai Yu said with a sincere face, "Is there anything else?" Qing Feng, feeling like he had punched cotton yet again, said no. Nothing. He turned to leave, feeling inexplicably uneasy. I clearly achieved my goal, so why do I feel so dissatisfied? Meanwhile, Bai Yu had a calm and detached expression. With a thought, he used his dragon-seeking fortune-gazing art on Qing Feng. Instantly, he saw a cloud of crimson energy, as large as a basin, above Qing Feng's head. In the very center, there was a thread of destiny qi that was so red it was almost purple. Bai Yu then looked at a Zongma guard. That Zongma guard had a cloud of grayish-green energy above his head, only the size of a fist. Bai Yu thought to himself, perhaps the qi of the human race and demons aren't that different. Qi refinement cultivators and Song demons have grayish-green qi. Foundation establishment cultivators and red demons have red qi. This Qing Feng's qi is red with a hint of purple, which should mean his destiny qi is extremely strong, with a high chance of reaching the golden core realm. When one's fortune arrives, their spirit soars. In the following days, Bai Yu unhurriedly began his send-offs. Within half a month, he had sent off several Song demons. He naturally received rewards in experience and spirit roots, and also gained a total of 50 years of cultivation, which increased his progress in the early foundation establishment stage by 8%. The 50 years of cultivation were naturally calculated based on a qi refinement cultivator's standard. His feng shui master progress also increased by about 6%. Additionally, he obtained a few interesting minor arts: ultimate gambling art, advanced barbecue art. The gambling art came from a veteran gambler. This guy had gambled away his family fortune, then his wife and children. After his children, he gambled away his hands and feet, and finally, he gambled his life away and fell into demonhood. The barbecue art came from a chef who had stumbled into a ghostly place and inexplicably turned into a demon. By checking the memory fragments of these demons, Bai Yu discovered a few patterns. By now, Bai Yu had sent off nearly a dozen demons and had summarized a few rules. The first was that 99% of these demons fell into demonhood because they suffered some great shock. Many times, they would almost suddenly gain power, then their temperament would change drastically, and their actions would become extremely crazy. The most common were falling into demonhood due to hatred or obsession. Perhaps a strong obsession could easily attract something. The second pattern was very interesting. Most of the demons who suddenly fell into demonhood were not from the Dali kingdom itself, but were sent from the vassal states of Dali. Bai Yu had not yet encountered a case of someone from the Dali kingdom itself suddenly becoming a demon. The number of demons in the Dali kingdom was relatively small, and they were all infected or corroded by something. As for why, Bai Yu couldn't figure it out for the time being. As usual, after the send-off, he went to the Patriarch's hall for a while and burned 2 more buxom paper figures for the Patriarch. Returning to his chamber, Bai Yu suddenly thought of Lord Guan and felt a pang of guilt. Lately, to thank the Patriarch, I haven't been burning many things for Lord Guan. Bai Yu rummaged through his belongings and found a black paper figure. Lord Guan, this disciple is out of paper figures. This black beauty is for you to use for now. When this disciple gets out, I'll definitely burn you a dozen foreign beauties. After paying his respects to Lord Guan, Bai Yu began to think about his future cultivation path. Currently, his immortal and yin-yang Dao cultivation were steadily increasing, even more effectively than cultivating on his own. The Heavenly Eye Grand Art had also entered the right track. With just a little effort, it could improve steadily. So, his main focus in the future should be on the martial Dao. He was now a junior martial Dao Grandmaster and had comprehended martial intent. The next step was to find a way to condense a martial soul and become a martial soul realm ultimate Grandmaster.
After the ultimate Grandmaster was, the advanced Grandmaster who could manifest a Dharma body.
Bai Yu stroked his chin and pondered, martial Dao cultivation is not that complicated. I just need to get more beast meat to eat. Anyway, the Heavenly Wolf is a spirit beast and can devour anything. Once I have enough, I might be able to condense a martial soul. The next morning, Bai Yu went out, preparing to go to the Oddities Hall. The Oddities Hall should have suitable beast meat. On the way, he passed the Jia One tomb chamber and glanced at the high-grade red demon. This red demon was truly extraordinary. She had been in the Jia One tomb chamber for more than half a month, suffering from thunder and fire refinement every day, yet she was completely unaffected. She only had a few strands of water we'd wrapped around her, her skin was fair, and there were no scars. Only the pair of red embroidered shoes on her feet grew more and more vibrant. Bai Yu withdrew his gaze, not in a hurry. The demons in the Bing-grade tomb chambers had to be refined for 49 days, the E-grade for 81 days, and for the Jia-grade tomb chambers, there was no time limit. It would end whenever they were refined to death. Bai Yu couldn't help but feel a bit of anticipation. A high-grade red demon, the first VIP of the Jia-grade tomb chamber. He wondered what kind of send-off reward there would be. Just then, Bai Yu bumped into Qing Feng. Qing Feng was surprised to see Bai Yu up so early and seemed a bit flustered, hurrying away. Bai Yu narrowed his eyes and saw that the crimson cloud of fortune above Qing Feng's head was now tinged with a hazy black fog. This was not a good sign. What's wrong with this Qing Feng? Bai Yu was puzzled. However, he naturally wouldn't go and remind Qing Feng. It was good enough that he didn't kick him while he was down. While thinking, Bai Yu quickly arrived at the oddities hall. Standing under the oddities stele, Bai Yu swiftly scanned the goods. Before long, he was attracted by something.
Blood demon meat.
Earth rank, low-grade spirit material. Can provide a large amount of chi and blood, as well as energy. Very useful for body cultivators.
Blood demon meat?
Can the meat of a demon be eaten? Bai Yu couldn't help but feel curious. He left a message next to that information. Before long, he received a reply, telling him to go to a certain stone chamber to talk. Bai Yu smiled faintly and stepped into a stone chamber.
A somnia familiar voice came from within. Amitabha.
Benefactor, this blood demon meat you're selling is too expensive.
50 spirit stones agin?
Why don't you just rob people? Looking up, he saw a shiny bald head. It was the life-taking monk he had traded Young Chun water with last time. Opposite the life-taking monk was a plump middle-aged female cultivator. Fellow Taoist, that's not right. This Tai Sui meat of mine is an earth-rank spirit material. Is 50 spirit stones a gene very expensive?
The life-taking monk puissant together. Amitabha Maya SS, benefactor. Do you think he, a monk, I am a fool?
This blood demon meat is worthy of being called an earth-rank spirit material? The energy inside is chaotic, and the spirit chi is as scarce as the hair on this poor monk's head. A chi refinement cultivator who buys it can't use it at all. Even a body cultivator would find it difficult to absorb that mixed energy. Besides me, a monk, who else would buy it? The female shop owner saw that the life-taking monk knew his stuff. Then how much do you say? The life-taking monk slapped his shiny head.
10 spirit stones.
The fat on the shop owner's face trembled a few times. She sighed.
All right. IVE met en expert.
10 it is. I'm really taking a loss this time. I'll just consider it making a friend of you. The life-taking monk put his palms together, a smug look on his face. This poor monk is an old hand at the market. Don't even think about tricking me, benefactor.
Blessing to you.
Benefactor, cut me 50 gene of blood demon meat. This poor monk is going to accumulate some merit today and release some blood and meat into the Wuzong temple. Bai Yu, listening on the side, couldn't help but find it amusing. This big monk was quite a character. He smiled and walked forward, greeting him, Master Sha Sheng, we meet again. The life-taking monk hurriedly returned the greeting. Ah, it's fellow Taoist Wu Cheng. What a coincidence. Bai Yu asked curiously, Master, you are a Buddhist. Do you also eat meat? The life-taking monk said with a straight face, I, a monk, don't eat much meat. I just have it as a side dish when I drink. Bai Yu was shocked. My God, Master, you also drink? The life-taking monk hurriedly explained, Amitabha. Benefactor, I don't actually drink that much.
Only when you get married.
Bai Yu was even more shocked. Master, you're also getting married? Aren't you afraid the abbot of your temple will find out and kick you out? The life-taking monk said with a straight face, it's fine. This poor monk thought of that in advance and killed the abbot beforehand. Bai Yu was stunned. He himself had always acted unpredictably and seemed a bit crazy, but meeting this life-taking monk, Bai Yu had to sincerely exclaim, your craziness is above mine. At this time, the female shop owner had finished cutting the meat and wrapped it for the life-taking monk. The life-taking monk took the meat and said with a grin, fellow Taoist Wu Cheng, this poor monk will take his leave. Next time we meet, I'll invite you to my wedding feast. Bai Yu naturally smiled and nodded. The female shop owner looked at Bai Yu. This young man is quite handsome.
I wonder how much blood demon meat you want.
Bai Yu said lightly, no hurry. How much are you selling this blood demon meat for? The shop owner said, as you must have seen, it's 10 spirit stones a gene.
Bayu. Tout cuit.
Deal. Deal. The shop owner slammed a cleaver the size of a door panel onto the chopping block. Bai Yu had been mixing in the mortal and immortal markets for many years. The moment the female shop owner spoke, he knew something was wrong. Damn, I still offered too high. However, no matter what, this blood demon meat was still a type of earth-rank spirit material.
It wouldn't be too low.
With Bai Yu's current wealth, he didn't mind a few dozen spirit stones. He smiled faintly. Fellow Taoist, give me 50 gene for now. Then he asked, seemingly casually, fellow Taoist, what kind of spirit material is this blood demon meat? Can meat related to demons be eaten? The female shop owner's 2 cleavers danced swiftly, and she quickly cut 50 gene of meat. While she was busy, she said, haha, many fellow Taoists ask this question the first time they come. The so-called blood demon meat is not from a real demon, but from a beast raised to imitate the blood demon clan. For example, my family raises a Tai Sui demon. Although it's also called a demon, it's actually a beast. Bai Yu became interested.
How do you imitate a demon?
The female shop owner handed the blood demon meat to Bai Yu. That's a long story. As we all know, demons have all sorts of bizarre characteristics. For example, shadow demons can use shadows, and blood demons have nearly indestructible life force. Many sages have paid an extremely heavy price to study them. As far as I know, several nascent soul seniors have been affected by demons and had to voluntarily pass away. After tens of thousands of years of research, we've only understood a little bit. For example, the blood beasts bred to imitate blood demons can absorb all kinds of energy and grow quickly. Bai Yu listened with great interest, feeling more and more amazed by the bizarreness of demons. Just studying ordinary demons cost several nascent soul ancestors their lives. How terrifying would a real demon be? He asked again, so that's how it is. I wonder what effects eating this blood demon meat will have. The female shop owner was very talkative. I won't hide it from you, fellow Taoist. Tai Sui meat is one of the demon meats that the sect allows to be sold. Eating it naturally won't have any major negative effects. It's just that the spirit chi inside is extremely low, and the various energies are mixed. Ordinary people won't get any benefit from eating it. The so-called side effects are nothing to a cultivator.
Bai Yu's mind stirred.
His heavenly wolf spirit devouring art also partially came from a demon. The energy that others couldn't use, he might actually be able to. Bai Yu took the blood demon meat and chatted with the female shop owner for a few more sentences, learning her codename, Mu Yeka. Bai Yu wasn't completely at ease. He went back to the oddities stele to search and actually found a jade slip about Wei Mo, artificial demons. Bai Yu spent 50 spirit stones to buy it. Inside was a lot of information about Wei Mo, or man-made demons. In summary, after so many years of research, the human race had only developed a dozen or so types of man-made demons. The only ones confirmed to be safe were Tai Sui, Banyan, and Bodhi Gu. However, although low-grade man-made demons had abundant energy, it was too chaotic and had basically no value. Only purified mid to high-grade Tai Sui had a certain value. Bai Yu was relieved and returned to the Xuanwu tomb. Just as he left, a Zhongma guard furtively followed him. He sniffed the air a few times.
The smell of blood.
Zhongma envoy Wu Cheng, I wonder what he was up to. If I can discover his secret, Lord Qingfeng will definitely reward me heavily. This person's codename was Xuanwu 8, and everyone called him Lao Ba. He had a special talent. His nose was particularly sensitive. He possessed a minor spirit body called the Spirit Connecting Nose. Because of this special talent, Qingfeng had assigned him to monitor Bai Yu. At this moment, Bai Yu entered his stone chamber and without another word, cut a piece of Tai Sui meat and started to grill it. With a look from Bai Yu, Lao Mo obediently spat out a ball of black wolf demon fire. Bai Yu's hands moved up and down, activating the advanced barbecue art. As he flipped the meat, various spices were sprinkled on. Before long, the fragrant aroma of barbecue filled the stone chamber, making one's mouth water. Outside the stone chamber, by a ventilation hole, Lao Ba leaned in, his nose twitching slightly.
Sichuan pépère, scallion, fish.
Meat smell. He's barbecuing. Lord Wucheng is quite at ease. Right, there's also a faint demonic aura. It should be from his spirit beast. So Lord Wucheng is really at ease and has no intention of fighting with Lord Qingfeng. Lao Ba was quite proud of his nose. Even though Bai Yu was very careful, setting up soundproofing and illusion arrays, he never expected someone would use smell to track and monitor him. One could only say that the cultivation world was full of wonders. At this time, Bai Yu's mind was completely on the barbecue. The Tai Sui meat was grilled until it was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, with a fragrant aroma. Without another word, he cut a piece and put it in his mouth to taste it. The flavor was, in a word, exquisite. One piece after another, and soon, more than half a gene of meat was gone. Lao Mo on the side was drooling. Woof woof. A woo.
What about me? What about me?
Bai Yu chuckled and split the barbecue with Lao Mo 50-50. After finishing the barbecue, Bai Yu tried to absorb the energy inside. As expected, the energy in the barbecue was chaotic and complex. An ordinary cultivation technique couldn't absorb it at all. Bai Yu circulated the heavenly wolf spirit devouring art. Instantly, a thick but complex energy was extracted. After several major cycles of extraction and refinement, it was converted into martial Dao Gang Qi. Even with a secret art like the heavenly wolf spirit devouring art, Bai Yu could only absorb less than half of it. Many impurities simply couldn't be absorbed. No wonder they said low-grade Tai Sui meat was useless. Others didn't have a secret art from a demon. The energy in the Tai Sui meat was indeed abundant. Even absorbing only half of it was comparable to a Xian-rank, high-grade spirit pill. Bai Yu nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, his stomach gurgled. Just as the female shop owner, Mu Yeka, had said, Tai Sui meat had a small insignificant side effect. Too many impurities couldn't be absorbed. So what happens when you can't absorb them? You expel them.
Bai Yu's chrysanthemum relaxed.
A big one was coming. Boom. A thunderous sound echoed in the room, and a green gas spread out. Lao Mo was startled. Then, he also began to expel impurities.
Da.
Lao Mo's expulsion of impurities, while not as earth-shattering, was continuous. For a moment, the room was as lively as New Year's. Bai Yu hurriedly covered his nose and waved his sleeve to vent the waste gas out of the room. By the exhaust vent, Lao Ba was listless. He had been tracking Bai Yu for several days without discovering any secrets. It seemed Bai Yu was truly content with his lot and had no intention of fighting with Qing Feng for power. Another day with no gains. He shook his head in disappointment, preparing to leave. Suddenly, he saw green gas coming out of the exhaust vent. Lao Ba's eyes lit up, and his whole body became excited, like a predator that had found its prey.
Something's up.
I finally discovered Wu Cheng's secret. Promotion and wealth are right in front of me. He quickly stepped forward and met the green gas. Lao Ba saw green gas emerge and was overjoyed. His eyes glowed green. That wasn't green gas, that was his future, his wealth. Lord Qing Feng had already said that as long as they found a way to get rid of Wu Cheng and Qing Feng took over as the demon burying master, he, Lao Ba, would be the next Yuan Siming. He eagerly leaned over the vent and took a deep breath, sucking in the entire cloud of green gas.
The sensation.
It was as if he had been hit in the head with a hammer. Tears and snot streamed down his face. The smell was too much. Not only was it pungent, but it also stung his eyes, clouded his mind, and clawed at his heart and stomach. In that instant, he thought he saw the Buddha. Lao Ba's mind went blank. Garlic, Sichuan pepper, barbecue.
What a stench.
And that wasn't all. Blood demon meat was originally a mix of various energies. That green gas was the impurity of impurities, without a single bit of useful energy. The green gas entered Lao Ba's body and immediately began to wreak havoc. Lao Ba didn't have the strong constitution of Bai Yu and Lao Mo. He collapsed to the ground, convulsing and foaming at the mouth. Lao Ba had only one thought in his mind: the fart is poisoned. The commotion of Lao Ba collapsing alerted the other Zongma guards. A group of people rushed over and hurriedly checked on him. One person said, "It's bad. Lao Ba is poisoned." Another said, "What poison? I think he took poison himself to commit suicide. In the demon tomb, it's not uncommon for people to go mad and then kill themselves." Someone had a realization. No wonder I've seen him acting furtively recently. So he was influenced by a demon. Ah, stop talking, save him. Quick, feed him an antidote pill. A life is at stake. The crowd didn't dare to delay and immediately fed Lao Ba an antidote pill. But this was the chaotic energy of the blood demon meat running rampant. It wasn't really poison. How could an ordinary antidote pill work? Lao Ba continued to convulse and remained unconscious. The crowd was shocked. What do we do? The antidote pill isn't working. It's bad, Lao Ba is dying. At this moment, one person who went by the codename Xuanwu 6 and was usually called Lao Lu, stood up and said loudly, "In our village, there's a folk remedy. If someone takes poison to commit suicide, you have to feed them dung to induce vomiting." The others immediately shouted, "We can't worry about that now. Go get some dung. We'll try anything at this point." Is there dung in the demon tomb? There really is. Normally, there shouldn't be such a thing. The Leiyong sect would distribute spirit grain pills to all Zongma cultivators monthly. These spirit grain pills were good stuff, a Xian rank mid-grade pill that could both satisfy hunger and aid cultivation. But once the pills were in their hands, many of the older Qi refinement cultivators were reluctant to eat them. Many would hide them away to take to their wives and children when they got out. The younger ones would sell them for spirit stones to exchange for cultivation resources. In short, many people would rather save them and eat ordinary food. This was human nature, and the higher-ups of the Zongma Tower just turned a blind eye. So the demon tomb really did have dung. It sounded very undignified, but this was life.
Back to Lao Liu.
He quickly brought a full bucket of dung. He held a large ladle of dung and was about to feed it to Lao Ba. At the critical moment, Lao Ba woke up and shouted, "I didn't take poison. It was Lord Wu Cheng. He poisoned his fart." When Lao Lu and the others heard this, they thought, "Good heavens, this Lao Ba has really gone mad. He's starting to talk nonsense. Who would be so bored as to poison their farts?" Lao Lu shouted, "He's getting worse. He's hallucinating. Quick, hold him down. Pry open his mouth."
Itelelbi tout les tifouiwe.
Several people grabbed his arms and legs, and pried open his mouth. Lao Ba struggled violently, but obviously, his strength was no match for the others. Tears streamed from the corners of Lao Ba's eyes. After a while, Bai Yu was also alerted by the commotion outside. He had dealt with the smell in his chamber and just walked out to see a group of people arguing. He couldn't help but ask, "What's going on? What are you doing?" Lao Lu, holding a ladle of dung, said, "Ah, Lord Wu Cheng. Lao Ba took poison. We're feeding him dung to make him vomit." Bai Yu slapped his forehead. "I'm really impressed, Lao Lu. To induce vomiting, you need to feed him the liquid. Why are you feeding him the solids? Look, he's choking so much his eyes are rolling back." Lao Lu had a realization. Right. Why didn't I think of that? Lord Wuchang is so smart. Without another word, he scooped up a thin, watery portion and fed it to Lao Ba. After a while, Lao Ba finally vomited. At the same time, the energy in his body calmed down, and he began to recover. The crowd finally breathed a sigh of relief, especially Lao Lu, whose face was filled with pride. Another day of doing good deeds. On the side, Bai Yu couldn't help but feel curious. There's so much commotion outside, why haven't I seen Qing Feng? Where did he go? In the Hua Siming's cultivation chamber, Qing Feng's eyes were hazy. He held a paintbrush and was painting a woman. The woman had a beautiful face, was wrapped in water weeds, and wore a pair of red embroidered shoes. It was none other than the high-grade red demon in the Jiagrade tomb. If Bai Yu had seen this, he would have exclaimed that Qing Feng was courting death, daring to covet a demon. Qing Feng was originally a profligate son of the Ling family, spending his days among flowers and willows. After entering the Zongma Tower, where there were tombs everywhere and very few female cultivators, he could no longer live his old life of debauchery every night. So, he had audaciously taken a liking to that demon. Of course, it wasn't that he was going to do anything to the demon, just look at her a few more times and then paint her for his own. Private viewing. Any other person in the Xuanwu tomb would have known the ironclad rule, never get involved with a demon. But Qing Feng was different. Ever since he was young, the Ling family's power was almost omnipotent. No matter how much trouble Qing Feng caused, the family could always clean it up for him. The good thing was that he was very confident and had a leader's charisma. But there was also a bad side, he lacked the necessary reverence. Moreover, he had a demon-warding treasure given to him by his ancestor. It's just a painting, what's the problem? Finally, Qing Feng finished painting the woman. He even, as if possessed, dotted her eyes. It had to be said that although this woman was a demon, she had a unique melancholic temperament and was truly pitiable. Qing Feng couldn't help but show a satisfied smile. Looking at the person in the painting, he was momentarily entranced. He was only awakened by the noise outside. He left his chamber and asked what was going on. The crowd hurriedly gathered around him, chattering about Lao Ba taking poison.
Not far away, Bai Yu is narrowed.
He subconsciously looked at Qing Feng's fortune. He saw that the crimson cloud of fortune was now more than half black. This was a great omen of misfortune. Is this Qing Feng's time to die approaching? Bai Yu discovered that Qing Feng had a great omen of misfortune but didn't say anything more. What did Qing Feng's life or death have to do with him? He put his hands behind his back and sauntered off to find the Baihu Zongma envoy, Shiji. In the middle of the night, Shiji said to Bai Yu with a solemn face, "Wuchang, have you ever heard of a legend? If you see something red at night, you must not touch it." His gaze was distant, and his voice was full of meaning. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious. Bai Yu, TCH, I'm going to touch it. Red dragon, 4 of a kind. Shiji was furious.
He play a card, and you touch it?
Are you doing this on purpose? That's right, Bai Yu was playing a game of mahjong with Shiji, the Qinglong Zongma envoy Yi Ye, and the Zhuke Zongma envoy Shan Gue. The mahjong set was, of course, refined by Lao Mo. The Qinglong Zongma envoy, Yi Ye, was a withered, gloomy old man. He played a card and said with a smile, "I have to say, this mahjong Wuchang brought is really interesting. Even an old man like me is getting addicted to it." The Zhuke Zongma envoy, Shan Gue, also smiled. That's right. In the demon tomb, it's so boring you can only count your hairs. This mahjong has finally relieved our boredom. 6 of bamboo. Shan Gue was a very unique person, with an androgynous appearance. If you said he was a man, his face was more delicate than a young girl's, and his skin was snow white. If you said he was a woman, he had an Adam's apple and a voice like thunder. After a few games of mahjong, Bai Yu had become familiar with them. Anyway, the matters in the Xuanwu tomb were all arranged by Qing Feng. Bai Yu only needed to go for a send-off every few days. It was Bai Yu's turn to draw a tile. He smiled broadly. Sorry, this demon. Ahem, concealed Kong.
Pay up, 20 spirit stones.
With his ultimate gambling art, dealing with a few novices like Shiji was like catching turtles in a jar, easy peasy. The other 3 weren't angry and just laughingly started the next round. Shan Gue, while shuffling the tiles, said, "Have you heard? A few days ago, in the Beidou capital, Yangmeng, a demon escaped, and 3 rank 10 envoys died. And that's not even the worst of it. In Jiuyou capital, Changgo, a machi appeared. Except for the Zongma envoy and the 2 Simings, everyone else died."
Bai Yu is minds tirred.
He asked, "Elder sister Gigi, what is a machi?" Gigi didn't answer. Instead she said, "Oldya has been in the demon tomb the longest. He knows the most."
Let Olya tell you.
Yi took over.
Amoki,
It's some of a demon's personal belongings. They are imbued with a demon's obsession and become a kind of bizarre object. They can kill without a trace and are hard to defend against. Sometimes, they are even harder to get rid of than the demon itself. Once a machi appears, it's big trouble. Bai Yu was thoughtful and memorized this. It was always good to have more information. He chatted with the three while playing mahjong, and the night passed like this. The next day, the mahjong game ended. Bai Yu had made a small profit of over 500 spirit stones. And that was with him holding back. Otherwise, with his gambling skills, he could have made Shiji and the others lose their pants. Bai Yu passed by the Baihu tomb's main hall. Several Zongma guards were dozing off. He threw a bag of spirit stones on the table and said with a smile, "I had good luck last night and I'm in a good mood. Take this bag of spirit stones and buy some tea." The Zongma guards' eyes immediately lit up. They all said, "Lord Wuchang is so generous. Thank you for the reward, Lord Wuchang. Lord Wuchang is the best. Every time he wins, he never forgets to reward us." Bai Yu chuckled and stopped a passing Zongma guard. "Baihu 16, where are you off to?" Baihu 16 nodded. Replying to my lord, "It's my turn to go for a send-off today." Bai Yu chuckled.
Det est perfect.
"I happen to be going for a send-off too. You're one."
I'll take care of it for you on the way.
Baihu 16 was overjoyed. A send-off was a difficult task. Every time you went out, there was a considerable risk. In every tomb, it was the Zongma guards who went for the send-offs. To put it bluntly, they were cannon fodder. Now that someone was offering to do it for him on the way, he couldn't be more grateful.
Lord Wuchang, you are toucan.
Thank you. A moment later, Bai Yu left the Baihu tomb, chuckling and carrying an urn. This was precisely the purpose of Bai Yu playing mahjong with Shiji and the others. He used mahjong to create a gambler persona for himself.
À gambler.
Nothing a gambler does is surprising. He wins money, he's happy, everyone gets a reward. Didn't that make him familiar with all the Zongma guards? And when he was happy, it was perfectly reasonable for him to help someone with a send-off, right? Bai Yu went to his own Xuanwu tomb. In the Xuanwu tomb today, there was also a Tsong demon that needed to be sent off. As soon as he entered the Xuanwu tomb, he found the atmosphere was particularly heavy. Everyone's face was filled with a bit of panic. He grabbed the passing Lao Lu and asked, "Lao Lu, what's going on?" Lao Lu said in a low voice, "Lord Wuchang, you don't know."
Something strange happened last night.
Bai Yu frowned.
What strange thing?
Lao Lu said with a bit of fear, "Last night, everyone heard footsteps in the corridor, but we couldn't see anyone. When we got up today, there was a trail of wet footprints from the corridor to the main hall." Bai Yu was also startled. Could it be that those demons are acting up? He hurried to the tomb area and checked the demons one by one. Under the inspection of his dragon-seeking fortune-gazing art, all the demons were accounted for, and there were no other unusual signs. Even that high-grade red demon showed no unusual movement, just that she still hadn't been refined. Bai Yu couldn't help but frown. All the demons are here. Did we encounter a ghost? Just then, Qing Feng also came to inspect the tomb area. Bai Yu inadvertently glanced at him and found that the fortune cloud above Qing Feng's head was completely black, with only a single purple thread of destiny chi standing tall. Qing Feng also saw Bai Yu and said nonchalantly, "I thought you weren't coming back."
Staying out all night without asking for leave. Is this what you call a Zongmo envoi?
Bai Yu didn't bother to reply. What was the point of arguing with a dead man? He turned, picked up a Tsong demon that was due, took a lantern, and went out for the send-off. Including the one from the Baihu tomb, he sent off two this time. Send-off successful.
Reward, 5 years of cultivation, life experience plus 60,000.
Optional reward, low-grade demon source, Tsong demon 73. The first demon had no choice. Bai Yu had to choose the low-grade demon source. Send-off successful.
Reward, water spirit route plus 3, life experience plus 880,000.
Optional reward, low-grade demon source, Tsong demon 77, Thousand Faces art. The second demon, however, produced a secret art, the Thousand Faces art. Earth rank, low grade. It allowed for rapid disguise, changing bones and facial features. Even the heavenly eye art couldn't see through it. Bai Yu was secretly pleased. His previous disguise art and bone-altering technique were not enough in the Foundation establishment realm. This Thousand Faces art was a perfect replacement for both. Bai Yu directly chose the Thousand Faces art. As the Yellow Springs melody played, his feng shui progress also increased by 1 point. Bai Yu returned to the Xuanwu tomb, satisfied. He checked everything from top to bottom again, but still didn't find anything unusual. That night, he and Lao Mo sat opposite each other.
Suddenly, the sound of Dada footsteps came from the corridor. Dada.
The footsteps came from outside, slowly becoming clearer, from far to near. Bai Yu and Lao Mo didn't even dare to breathe. A ghost? Is something really coming? The footsteps continued to approach. Suddenly, as they neared Bai Yu's stone chamber door, the footsteps disappeared. Bai Yu gripped the suona in his hand. Lao Mo arched his back even more. He could feel that thing was right outside the room.
Demon burying iron law, article 9, when encountering the bizarre, do not make a sound.
Time passed, second by second.
Cold sweat dripped from Bai Yu's face.
Finally, the footsteps sounded again, gradually moving away. Bai Yu finally breathed a sigh of relief, but his heart was still in his throat. The fact that the thing had stopped at his door meant he was likely targeted. He gritted his teeth, and a sensing crystal appeared in his hand. He had previously placed several recording stones outside.
This sensing crystal could view the image from the recording stones in real time.
Bai Yu took a deep breath and began to view the images from the recording stones. In the main hall, several Zongma guards were asleep. In the corridor leading from the main hall to the chambers, there were 2 rows of dripping wet footprints. Every time a footstep sounded outside, a wet footprint would appear out of thin air on the ground.
A chill ran down Bai Yu's spine.
Although the recording stone's image couldn't see the thing's body, there was definitely something there. Suddenly, the wet footprints on the ground turned a corner and actually walked towards the nearest recording stone. The next moment, in the sensing crystal's image, all that could be seen was a pair of large red embroidered shoes. Bai Yu was shocked and hurriedly turned off the sensing crystal. Outside, it was silent. Bai Yu's heart was in his throat. He didn't know how long it was before the footsteps sounded again, gradually moving away. That night, Bai Yu and Lao Mo didn't dare to sleep. He held the Swana, and Lao Mo had a pile of spirit talismans stuck to him. The man and his dog passed the night like this. The next day, a golden cry awakened the entire Zongma Tower. It was the sound of the tower's guardian spirit beast. Bai Yu finally breathed a sigh of relief. The golden cry announced the dawn. The dangerous night was over.
Before long, a clamor of voices came from outside.
Bai Yu went out to check and saw a group of Zongma guards arguing, each with fear on their faces. Bai Yu said in a low voice, "So you all heard it too?" Seeing Bai Yu, the group of Zongma guards finally relaxed a little. With a Foundation establishment expert present, they could feel a bit safer. Lao Lu came forward and said in a low voice, "Lord Wuchang, last night, all of us heard it. Not only heard it, look, the footprints on the ground haven't disappeared yet. Yesterday, as soon as it was light, the footprints disappeared." Only then did Bai Yu notice that the wet footprints on the ground were still clearly visible. Especially at Bai Yu's door, under the recording stone, and at Qing Feng's door, the 3 pairs of footprints were particularly obvious, having condensed into a puddle of water. Bai Yu's expression changed slightly. He threw out 2 demon warding talismans.
Bang! Bang!
The demon warding talismans instantly exploded, but the footprints on the ground didn't change at all. This was going to be difficult. Just then, Qing Feng also came out. He had 2 dark circles under his eyes and said impatiently, "What are you shouting about?"
What is all the noise so early in the morning?
Bai Yu activated his dragon-seeking fortune-gazing art and saw that the top of Qing Feng's head was completely black. Even the purple thread of destiny Qi had turned into a charcoal-like color. Black, for the human race, represented death. This Qing Feng was at death's door. Bai Yu looked at the others and found that they too were all shrouded in black. Everyone was facing a deadly tribulation. Bai Yu sucked in a cold breath. He looked inward at his own head. His cloud of crimson fortune, which was much larger than that of an ordinary early Foundation establishment cultivator, was now stained with a black color. Even Lao Mo's head was the same, covered by a black cloud.
This calamity.
Everyone in the Xuanwu tomb was facing a deadly tribulation. Bai Yu, without another word, decisively took out his Zongma medallion and sent out a distress signal. Qing Feng saw this and shouted loudly, "Wuchang, what are you doing?" Bai Yu said in a low voice, "A ghost has appeared in the Xuanwu tomb. It must be reported. I'm requesting Lord Bao and Lord Tianmian to come and handle it." Qing Feng was unconcerned. He had the strength of a Foundation establishment cultivator and a treasure from his ancestor to protect him. He wasn't afraid of some so-called ghost. Moreover, reporting such a small matter would make him look incompetent.
Making a fuss over nothing.
It's just a string of wet footprints. And you're alarming Lord Bao over this? Where's our face?
Wuchang, retract the distre signal forme.
Bai Yu not only didn't retract it, but he sent it 3 times in a row. Life and death were decreed by fate. He didn't care about face. Any bizarre event related to demons was not to be taken lightly. Seeing Bai Yu ignore his command, Qing Feng felt a surge of anger. Normally, Bai Yu never confronted him directly. This time, he was completely ignoring him, which made him feel challenged. "I told you to retract it.
Are you fucking deaf?"
He was about to snatch the Zongma medallion. Bai Yu, without another word, slapped out with his palm. Thud. Qing Feng was sent flying. He looked at his chest, then at Bai Yu, his eyes full of disbelief. The normally smiling, good-tempered Bai Yu had actually dared to strike him. Not only Qing Feng, but even the Zongma guards were stunned. They couldn't understand how the Zongma envoy, who normally seemed to only know how to gamble, had sent Qing Feng flying with a single blow. At this moment, Qing Feng felt he had lost all face and was furious.
You fucking dare to hit me? I'll kill you.
Without another word, he took out a talisman treasure from his bosom and was about to fight Bai Yu to the death. Bai Yu was completely unafraid. He summoned his talisman sword and faced Qing Feng. He said coldly, I am the Xuanwu demon burying master. Qing Feng, are you trying to rebel? Do you want to drag everyone down with you because of your stupidity? I'm not playing along. Qing Feng didn't care and was about to activate the small pagoda talisman treasure in his hand. Just then, a sharp shout came from outside. What are you doing?
Rebelling.
The day inspector, Iron Judge Tai, strode in, his presence like a storm. A powerful pressure emanated from him, directly suppressing the tense situation. Even someone like Qing Feng, who was used to being arrogant and domineering, calmed down at this moment. Iron Judge Tai looked at Bai Yu and asked, Wu Chang, why did you send 3 distress signals in a row? Bai Yu said, Lord Tai, a ghost has appeared in the Xuanwu tomb. There are footsteps at night, wet footprints, and a machi has appeared. Bai Yu reported the matter and handed over the previous recording stone. The more Iron Judge Tai listened, the more solemn his expression became. He went to Bai Yu's door and raised his hand, a streak of crimson sun in lightning flying out, blasting towards the wet footprint.
A cold cuir rose from the footprint, blocking the crimson sun yin lightning.
The two were locked in a stalemate. After a cup of tea's time, the cold chi was exhausted, and the footprint finally disappeared. Crimson Sun in Lightning was a 4th-rank Xian Thunder. It had almost failed to deal with that footprint. Iron Judge Tai took a deep breath. The situation is serious. Even the Crimson Sun in Lightning can't deal with it. We must request the Patriarch's presence. Disciple of the 582nd generation, Iron Judge Tai, respectfully requests the Patriarch's presence. Iron Judge Tai lit a stick of incense and respectfully went to the Patriarch's hall to retrieve the Patriarch's portrait. 8 Zongma guards carried the Patriarch's portrait, along with a small altar. Although it was just a portrait, the 8 of them seemed to be carrying a 10,000 gene boulder, walking with extreme difficulty. Iron Judge Tai summoned the Crimson Sun Yen Thunder to lead the way, chanting an ancient prayer. The 8 of them carried the Patriarch's portrait and paraded around the Xuanwu tomb. Instantly, the originally cold and gloomy rooms became warm and sunny. Bai Yu secretly activated his dragon-seeking fortune-gazing art and saw that the Patriarch's portrait was emitting a circle of auspicious light that was invisible to the naked eye. Wherever the portrait passed, the various Yin, Sha, and resentful chi accumulated in the Xuanwu tomb were all stimulated, and then in the auspicious light emitted by the Patriarch's portrait, they melted away like ice and snow. Bai Yu thought, so that's how it is.
No wonder it feels so warm.
The Patriarch's portrait patrolled every corner of the Xuanwu tomb, not even sparing each person's chamber. After the patrol, everyone took turns to pay their respects to the Patriarch. Even the dog was forced to kowtow 3 times. Near the Patriarch's portrait, everyone felt an inexplicable sense of joy. The most pleasant surprise was that the high-grade red demon in the Jiawan tomb chamber, which had been impossible to refine, was finally completely refined. Not only that, Bai Yu even personally saw the red embroidered shoes on the red demon's feet being turned to ash by the thunder and fire.
Bai Yu bretted a sigh of relief.
This red demon was finally refined. He activated his fortune-gazing art again and looked at the crowd's heads. The fortune clouds of the crowd had all returned to normal, without a trace of black chi. Bai Yu himself was the same. Even Qing Feng had returned to normal. A ball of crimson cloud with a purple thread of destiny chi standing tall within it. Good news, everyone had escaped the calamity. Bad news, Qing Feng had also escaped the calamity. But no matter what, the most important thing was that the calamity was resolved, and he could now send off a high-grade red demon. As for Qing Feng, he'd note it down in his little black book for now. After the Patriarch's presence patrolled, everyone in the tomb had a joyful expression. They could finally sleep well. Bai Yu, on the other hand, took the red demon's ashes, carried a lantern, and went out for the send-off. In the land of the fire marsh, the snow-white urn was buried in the ground. The Yellow Springs melody sounded, sending off this fierce demon.
A song of the Yellow Springs, a cycle of reincarnation.
Who weeps on the terrace of gazing home? Even immortals and demons are helpless. In a trance, the path of the send-off began to play out the demon's memory fragments. Her name was Gu Par, a direct daughter of a prominent family in the Songming Kingdom. She fell in love with a poor scholar named Zhang Jing. The two exchanged loving glances and fell deeply in love. The Gu family naturally did not approve. She simply eloped with the poor scholar. The two went to the capital, hoping that Zhang Jing could pass the imperial examinations and make a name for himself. However, Zhang Jing failed the examinations repeatedly, and the money they brought was used up. One night, Zhang Jing brought back a fat merchant and asked Gu Par to come out and drink with him. When she woke up, the two of them were sleeping together. Gu Par cried for 3 days and finally accepted it. From then on, Zhang Jing would bring back different men every few days. The once noble lady of a prominent family became a prostitute in a secret brothel for Zhang Jing. She endured it, gritting her teeth. As long as Zhang Jing could pass the examinations, everything would be fine. Zhang Jing had said that once he passed the examinations, they would get married. Finally, another imperial examination. Zhang Jing passed with flying colors. Gu Par was overjoyed. She finally didn't have to be a prostitute anymore. With a heart full of joy, she personally made a pair of embroidered shoes, looking forward to Zhang Jing's return to marry her. She wore the embroidered shoes, fantasizing about the moment of their marriage. However, when Zhang Jing returned, he brought a group of fierce thugs. He accused Gu Par of being unchaste and, along with a hapless beggar, threw her into a pig cage into the water. In the cold, dark water, Gu Par wore the red embroidered shoes, her eyes filled with sorrow. After that, a demon was born, wreaking havoc for thousands of miles. After watching Gu Par's past, Bai Yu sighed with emotion.
The world is always full of bitter love. Ali fait-il entrusted to the wrong person.
Gu Par was truly tragic. And that Zhang Jing was too much of a beast. Bai Yu urgently needed a word more offensive than beast to describe that bastard Zhang Jing. He'd have Lao Emo note this bastard down. If there was a chance in the future, he'd dig up his ancestral grave.
The Siona mournfully buried the love and hatred of this infatuated woman.
Successfully sent off the high-grade red demon.
Reward, Wood Spirit Route plus 25, Life Experience plus 1,350,000.
Optional rewards, mid-grade demon source, red demon 72, seed of the wrath demon. Send-off participation, 65%. An additional reward can be selected. The reward for a high-grade red demon was indeed incomparably rich. Just the spirit root was 25 points, and the life experience was over 1 million. The optional rewards, on the other hand, were not many. Bai Yu took a look and found that the seed of the wrath demon was very interesting. Seed of the wrath demon.
Earthrank, high-grade spirit wood.
Can allow the spirit wood to absorb various demonic and baleful chi, improving the quality of the spirit wood. Has a certain restraining effect on low-grade demons. Bai Yu was instantly interested. This thing seemed very useful for his cultivation of the Heavenly Eye avatar. If he used it to fuse with the spirit lotus seed, it should be able to take his Heavenly Eye avatar to the next level. The best part was that this seed of the wrath demon also had a certain restraining effect on low-grade demons. This was what Bai Yu desperately needed. He didn't have many trump cards against demons, so he desperately needed anything that could restrain them. He thought for a moment and claimed the seed of the wrath demon. A blue-black rune, looking like a seed, appeared in his palm. After putting away the seed of the wrath demon, Bai Yu claimed the normal rewards, 1,350,000 life experience and 25 wood spirit root points. His wood attribute spirit root exceeded 100 points. Obtained, Azure Wood Spirit Body. First tier Spirit Body. Affinity for wood attribute spirit power increased. Power of wood attribute spells increased. Bai Yu was overjoyed. He had finally obtained another spirit body. Now his spirit root attributes were
Spirit Root Aptitude, Métal 35, Water 71, Fire 168, Wood 109, Earth 98, Thunder 14, Wind 18, Ice 22, Dark 15, Blood 14. Constitution, Profound Fire Spirit Body, Azure Wood Spirit Body.
It seemed he was only one step away from obtaining an Earth System spirit body. Bai Yu was in a great mood. He looked at his feng shui progress again. This time, his feng shui progress had also increased by 5. The reward for sending off a high-grade red demon was much richer than he had imagined. Bai Yu chuckled and went straight back to his chamber in the Xuanwu tomb. He opened his mouth and spat out a jade-green lotus seed. The lotus seed was full of green life, about to sprout. Bai Yu then took out the seed of the wrath demon and chanted an incantation. Before long, the seed of the wrath demon turned into countless tiny runes and poured into the lotus seed. A moment later, a brand new seed was formed. And it sprouted. Bai Yu's lotus seed, enhanced by the seed of the wrath demon, quickly took root and sprouted, growing to a foot high. However, the spirit wood that grew was not in the shape of a lotus leaf, but like a small sapling. Bai Yu activated the Heavenly Eye Avatar Grand Art and continuously refined this small sapling. He and this small sapling developed a more and more intimate blood and flesh connection. Bai Yu obtained the information about the small sapling.
Demon Lotus Wood. Even rank, low grade Spirit Wood. 1 par Icteu, 1 par Evil.
Can grow by absorbing demonic and baleful chi. Bai Yu was overjoyed. His Heavenly Eye Grand Art had now reached the 6th layer of chi refinement. He only needed to use the Heavenly Eye Grand Art to strike again to refine this demon lotus wood into a Heavenly Eye avatar. In the following days, Bai Yu once again put on his gambler persona, playing mahjong with Shiji and the others every day, sometimes winning, sometimes losing. Occasionally, he would help someone with a send-off. On this day, Bai Yu and the other 3 were once again in a fierce battle at the mahjong table. Lao Mo was on the side, spitting out demon fire to grill tai sui meat. The 4 of them played mahjong while eating barbecue, occasionally drinking a little wine. Life was quite comfortable. However, a not-so-harmonious sound rang out. Poof. The Zhuke Zongma envoy, Shan Gue, took a deep sniff of the air and said curiously, "What's that smell?" "It's sour." Bai Yu immediately held his breath.
I forgot about that.
Eating too much tai sui meat, you have to expel some impurities from time to time. I wonder who that was just now. Bai Yu said nothing and silently played a 2 of circles. At this moment, Shiji's face suddenly turned bright red. Obviously, he also had some impurities to expel. After a few rounds, Shiji gritted his teeth and drew a mahjong tile. He gripped the tile so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His body even began to tremble slightly. He had clearly reached his limit. Suddenly, he seemed to have made a decision. His whole expression relaxed. Pfft. Shiji turned his head and stared at Bai Yu with a serious face. Shan Gui also reacted at this time and looked at Bai Yu. Wu Chang, did you fart? Bai Yu, it wasn't me. I didn't.
Don't talk nonsense.
Shiji fanned the air with his hand, looking at Bai Yu with disgust, as if to say, Wu Chang, how could you be so crude? Bai Yu silently cursed. Good heavens, I'm being framed. At this moment, Shan Gui's face also changed. His stomach rumbled.
Gurgle.
Poof. The other three's gazes all turned to Shan Gui. Shan Gui couldn't help but blush. Suddenly, Bai Yu's stomach also started to churn. Poof. At this moment, the crowd couldn't be bothered to talk. Poof. Poof poof. A series of strange sounds rose and fell. Only Yiya had a calm and detached expression, without the slightest discomfort. But Bai Yu saw that the clothes on Yiya's back were fluttering like a flag. Soon, a green gas filled the stone chamber.
I can't take it anymore. This thing stings the eyes.
The four of them left the stone chamber one after another. Shan Gui shouted, Damn it Wu Chang, there's something wrong with your barbecue. Bai Yu said righteously, This is authentic Tai Sui meat.
What could be wrong with it?
Shan Gui was speechless. Tai Sui meat. You can't eat this stuff. It has no benefits, and if you eat too much, you fart. At this time, Yiya said with a calm and detached face, Gentlemen, that's all for tonight. This old man will take his leave. He turned to leave, a trail of green gas behind him. Bai Yu also chuckled and cupped his hands to Shiji and Shan Gui in farewell. He took Lao Mo back to the Xuanwu tomb, thinking to himself, it seems other Foundation establishment cultivators really can't absorb Tai Sui meat. This means that getting a high-grade Tai Sui demon won't be too difficult. That's right, Bai Yu wanted to raise a Tai Sui himself. For others, high-grade Tai Sui meat was basically useless, but for Bai Yu, the effect of Tai Sui meat was no less than that of ordinary pills. In a few months, he had already opened 3 Hundong acupoints, and his strength had reached 230,000 jin. While he was thinking, he suddenly shuddered. The temperature of the surrounding air seemed to have dropped by more than 10 degrees out of nowhere.
Dada.
The familiar footsteps sounded again in the corridor outside, from far to near. Lao Mo jumped up, his eyes fixed on the door. Bai Yu instantly entered a combat state, his ears perked to listen to the footsteps.
The ghost is back.
Could it be that the red demon wasn't completely refined?
Da.
The footsteps unhurriedly passed Bai Yu's stone chamber door, then gradually moved away.
Bai Yu breathed a slight sigh of relief.
He waited until the footsteps were far away before approaching the stone chamber door. There was a peephole-like hole in the door. This was a special array that only allowed one to see outside from the inside, but not the other way around. Bai Yu looked out through the hole, wanting to see what was going on outside. He saw that in the hole. There was a pair of blood-red eyes. He. A bizarre laugh sounded, and the pair of eyes instantly disappeared. The next moment, a shadow appeared in Bai Yu's stone chamber. Lao Mo's fur stood on end, and he started to bark loudly. Bai Yu hurriedly turned around and saw that in the corner behind him, Qing Feng was wearing a pair of bright red embroidered shoes, his long hair hanging down, a strange smile on his face.
Achille ran down Bai Yu's spine.
How did Qing Feng get in? His stone chamber had 3 layers of defensive arrays, and the stone chamber itself was cast from spirit materials. Even a golden core cultivator couldn't possibly get in so silently. That Qing Feng exuded a chilling coldness and with a strange laugh, pounced at Bai Yu. Bai Yu raised his hand, and hundreds of demon warding talismans, chi sealing talismans, and Buddha's light talismans flew out from various places in the stone chamber. Knowing that he might encounter an evil thing, Bai Yu was naturally not unprepared. He had placed hundreds of demon warding talismans in the array beforehand, which he could activate at will.
Bang, bang, bang.
A series of explosions sounded, like setting off firecrackers. If it were an ordinary ghost or demon, hundreds of demon warding talismans would have long since turned it to ash. However, that Qing Feng only paused for a moment, then continued to pounce at Bai Yu as if nothing had happened. His long hair grew wildly, like waterweeds, trying to entangle Bai Yu. In this situation, Bai Yu didn't dare to face it head-on. He grabbed Lao Mo and activated the shadow shuttle technique. The next moment, Bai Yu's figure appeared outside the door. He quickly crushed a jade talisman. Instantly, a huge roar came from the stone chamber, as if a volcano had erupted. Bai Yu had prepared a set of 88 fire-scorching talismans in a chain array in the stone chamber. An ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator would definitely be blown to smithereens. However, the next moment, the stone door was smashed open. Qing Feng's head was twisted at a bizarre angle, and he let out a GG strange laugh. Several Zongmo guards rushed over from the other side.
Lord Qing Feng, what is wrong with you?
Qing Feng's hair exploded, instantly piercing into their bodies. The several late-stage Qi refinement Zongma guards didn't even have time to grunt before they turned into dried corpses. Qing Feng turned his head to look at Bai Yu. He stepped on the red embroidered shoes and pounced at Bai Yu.
Zhe.
Qing Feng was clearly a man, but he let out a high-pitched female voice. His head of black hair, like waterweeds, entangled several Zongma guards. Visibly, their bodies rapidly shriveled and turned into dried corpses.
King Fenges aura gré oustranger.
He wore the red embroidered shoes and pounced at Bai Yu, letting out a sharp laugh that disturbed one's soul and made one's heart pound. His fingernails grew long, turning into two black, sharp claws, grabbing at Bai Yu's head. Seeing Qing Feng's strange appearance, Bai Yu couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. His figure rapidly retreated. At the same time, he raised his hand and released a bright bolt of lightning. Earth rank, mid-grade technique, purple cloud 9-chain whip. A lightning bolt as thick as an arm blasted towards Qing Feng's face. However, Qing Feng didn't dodge. He actually opened his mouth and swallowed the ball of lightning. Yeah. Qing Feng grinned, revealing a mouth full of sharp teeth. The red embroidered shoes on his feet dripped with gurgling blood, leaving a trail of bloody footprints on the ground. His figure suddenly accelerated, like a ghost, closing in on Bai Yu. A pair of sharp claws and a head of waterweed-like hair came crashing down on Bai Yu. Bai Yu became more and more calm and instantly activated the Vajra Demon Subduing art. Vajra Demon Subduing. A golden Buddha's light erupted, blocking Qing Feng's head of hair. Bai Yu, holding the demon-slaying blade, slashed repeatedly. Clang. Clang. A series of metal-clashing sounds came. Qing Feng actually blocked the attacks of the dragon-slaying blade with a pair of sharp claws. Not only that, he faced Bai Yu's 230,000 gene of immense strength without falling behind in the slightest. A pair of sharp claws moved up and down, coordinating with his head of hair, launching a barrage of attacks at Bai Yu. Bai Yu was secretly shocked. The main body of this demon was refined. Just by possessing Qing Feng's body, it's so fierce. If it were any other early Foundation establishment cultivator, they would have died 10 times over. They wouldn't even have been able to escape that first move in the stone chamber. Bai Yu fought while retreating, reaching the main hall. Xuanwu Zongma guards, listen to my order. Set up the Xuanwu demon-suppressing grand array. The cultivators in the Xuanwu tomb were not just for show. All Zongma guards had to cultivate a thunder or fire technique and also regularly practice a demon-subduing array, precisely to deal with escaping demons. Following Bai Yu's order, the remaining Zongma guards quickly formed the array and activated the thunder and fire blessing of the Xuanwu tomb. Instantly, more than a dozen flying swords, imbued with the power of thunder and fire, slashed at Qing Feng. Qing Feng let out a strange GG laugh, allowing the flying swords to slash at him. Neither the flying swords nor the thunder and fire could harm him in the slightest. He grabbed a flying sword with one claw and with a few crunch-crunch sounds, actually ate the flying sword. Seeing this, all the Zongma guards couldn't help but feel their scalps tingle with fear. Seeing this, Bai Yu's body was suddenly dyed with a layer of blood red. His qi and blood burned crazily.
Earth rank secret technique, Wind Demon 9 rotation, Fraught rotation.
His aura suddenly skyrocketed, instantly increasing fourfold. His body was filled with gang qi, and the dragon-slaying blade in his hand hummed, unleashing his strongest slash.
A blade of Kameng. A bright blade light illuminated the hall.
A powerful martial intent filled the air. Through the ages, how many heroes have there been?
Treading the green mountains, never looking back.
Emperors and generals have all turned to dust. The blade light was like lightning, striking Qing Feng.
Qing Feng let out a fierce roar.
Black qi condensed on his pair of sharp claws, blocking in front of him. With a sound like a sharp knife cutting through tofu, Qing Feng's sharp claws were actually severed. He himself was cut in two.
Strangely, not a single drop of blood came from the wound.
Bai Yu didn't have time to think. The long blade in his hand slashed repeatedly, dismembering Qing Feng, and he directly activated the Xuanwu Tomb's thunder and fire grand array. A sky full of thunder and fire rained down, blasting Qing Feng's body into a pile of ash. Qing Feng was completely gone, but the pair of embroidered shoes on his feet became even more vibrant. A sobbing sound came from the air, and the two red embroidered shoes actually began to move on their own. The red embroidered shoes walked towards the Xuanwu demon-suppressing grand array formed by the Zongma guards. Everyone's scalp tingled, and they launched all kinds of attacks.
Fireball, lightning, Buddha's light.
However, no matter what attack, it passed directly through the two red embroidered shoes, unable to hit them at all. In the blink of an eye, the two red embroidered shoes reached a Zongma guard. The Zongma guard collapsed to the ground, his body turning into a dried corpse. The red embroidered shoes became even more vibrant, even leaving a trail of bloody footprints on the ground. The Zongma guards were so scared their souls almost left their bodies, and they scattered in all directions. The two red embroidered shoes actually walked towards those tomb chambers. Bai Yu was shocked. I absolutely cannot let it enter the tomb chambers. If it releases the other demons, the consequences will be even more disastrous. He repeatedly cast various spells. Whether it was the 9 transformations of flexible fire, the purple cloud thunder art, or even the art of Tsongmang, None of them could stop the two red embroidered shoes.
GG.
The two red embroidered shoes entered the tomb chamber passage and killed another Zongma guard. Seeing it heading towards the numbered tomb chambers, Baiyu took a deep breath and began to play the Yellow Springs melody. The mournful Swona sound echoed, carrying a sad and lingering tone that reverberated in the Xuanwu tomb. Life and death are decreed by fate, heaven and earth have decided.
On the road to the Yellow Springs, how many ghosts cry? The Yellow Springs melody, carrying a soul suppressing yo-yo chonchu.
As expected, the two red embroidered shoes slowed down. They seemed to be enraged and turned to walk towards Baiyu.
Dada.
The red embroidered shoes continued to approach, leaving a trail of bloody footprints. Baiyu didn't dare to stop for a moment. He retreated while playing the Yellow Springs melody. This time, playing the Yellow Springs melody was extremely difficult. Before long, beads of sweat appeared on Baiyu's forehead. Just like this, Baiyu played the Yellow Springs melody and maneuvered around the red embroidered shoes. He didn't know how long it was before a loud shout came from outside. So the patriarch is here. All demons, submit. The Lord has arrived. Baiyu had sent out a distress signal at the very beginning and had finally waited for the Lord's arrival.
Et ça lor bao summoning the patriarch's portrait, the moon inspector iron judge te summoning the crimson sun in thunder, and a night inspector, the smiling Buddha, controlling a ball of crimson flame.
The three of them worked together to surround the pair of red embroidered shoes.
The patriarch's portrait shone brightly, and golden light shot out.
In an instant, it was as if the patriarch had come to life, controlling thunder and fire to blast the two red embroidered shoes. Under the patriarch's divine might, the red embroidered shoes let out a piercing scream and turned into a puddle of clear water, disappearing without a trace. Baiyu let out a long sigh of relief and only then stopped playing the Swona. Iron Judge Tai looked at Baiyu, a rare smile appearing on his stern face. Wu Chang, you did well. You held out until we arrived. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Lord Bao, however, had a frosty expression. He asked in a low voice, what about Qing Feng? Baiyu looked at the ashes all around. He's everywhere. Iron Judge Tai asked, Wu Chang, tell us exactly what happened this time. Baiyu recounted the entire incident from beginning to end, including how Qing Feng would usually inspect the Jiagrade tomb chamber, how he acted abnormally, and finally how he appeared wearing the embroidered shoes, possessed by a demon. The other Zongma guards also came forward to add some details. When they heard that Qing Feng was lusting after the demon, Iron Judge Tai let out a heavy snort. A reckless fool, harming others and himself. Lord Bao, however, had a gloomy face. He had never expected Qing Feng to be so audaciously lustful. In the demon tomb, you could lack strength, you could lack wisdom, but you had to have reverence. Those without reverence, like Qing Feng, died very unpeacefully. The most annoying thing was that Qing Feng had been pushed up by Lord Bao. Lord Bao had even supported Qing Feng in sidelining Baiyu, hoping to replace him as the Xuanwu Zongma envoy. Once the higher-ups investigated he, Bao Chenqiu, would not get off lightly. Thinking of this, Bao Chenqiu looked at Baiyu with a more favorable eye. If it weren't for Baiyu this time, it would have been a great disaster. And if Qing Feng had been the Zongma envoy, a huge mess would have definitely occurred, and he, Bao Chenqiu, would have been implicated. Bao Chenqiu had a thought, wanting to ease the relationship with Baiyu. He said, I didn't expect Qing Feng to be so useless, and to have caused the deaths of several Zongma guards. Wu Chang, this time, it's fortunate we had you. You've made me look at you in a new light. Baiyu was secretly pleased. This Bao Chenqiu had more than one mark against him in his little black book. However, Baiyu naturally wouldn't show it on the surface. Instead he smiled and said, Lord Tai and Lord Bao, you praise me too much. I was just doing my duty. Bao Chenqiu patted Baiyu's shoulder with a chuckle. Wu Chang, you've worked hard during this time. After this period, I'll assign you fewer demons to let you relax a bit. Baiyu was instantly anxious. What do you mean, fewer demons? How am I supposed to do my send-offs then? Baiyu hurriedly said, it's not hard at all.
This is what he should do.
He said with a sincere face, please be sure to send more demons. Working for the sect is not hard at all. Seeing this, Lord Bao and Iron Judge Tai looked at Baiyu with even more favorable eyes.
Look, what do you call this?
Dedication. Where can you find such a good subordinate? Lord Bao said, Wu Chang, you don't have to be humble. I'll definitely let you have a good rest. Baiyu said sincerely, I really don't want to take a vacation. I'm voluntarily working overtime. The more he said this, the more Lord Bao thought Baiyu was being modest and insisted on giving Baiyu a vacation. At this time, Iron Judge Tai on the side said, let's not worry about that for now. First, call the law enforcement team to deal with Qing Feng's remains. No matter what, Qing Feng was a Foundation establishment expert. His death definitely couldn't be handled lightly. From Baiyu to Lord Bao and Iron Judge Tai, they would all have to explain themselves. Before long, the law enforcement team was sent from above. Under the supervision of the law enforcement team, everyone dealt with Qing Feng's remains. The unimportant things were burned one by one in front of the patriarch. The important things had to be exorcised in the patriarch's hall for a long time before they could be returned to his family. Among the pile of remains, they found a painting. It was of that high-grade red demon. In the painting, the red demon had a beautiful face, with only waterweeds wrapped around her body, and a pair of bare jade-like feet. As the flames blazed, Baiyu seemed to see the red demon reveal a strange smile. After dealing with Qing Feng's remains, they collected some ashes and gave them to Baiyu for burial. Anything stained with demonic energy could only be buried in the demon tomb. Baiyu, with a faint smile, buried Qing Feng. Successfully sent off the foundation establishment Qi cultivator Qing Feng.
Reward. Thunder Spirit Route +9, Life Experience +120,000.
Optional rewards, Heavenly Thunder True Art, Crimson Sun 5 Thunders, 5 years of cultivation, 10-star Thunder, Cloud Treading Art, Thunder Sword Heart Method. Send-off participation, 67%.
Family Satisfaction, 82%.
2 additional rewards can be selected. Qing Feng had a family, so there was family satisfaction. Baiyu glanced at the rewards. The basic rewards for an ordinary cultivator were not as good as a demon's, but the optional rewards were much richer. Moreover, Qing Feng was a scion of a noble family, and the quality of the techniques he practiced was not low, starting from the earth rank. Baiyu first took a liking to one reward.
10-star Thunder.
3rd rank Xian Thunder. A thunder spirit fire bred in a 10,000-year-old thunderstone. Xian Thunder, these were all things that seized the good fortune of heaven and earth and were extremely difficult to find. For example, Baiyu was a profound fire spirit body and could cultivate his own life spirit fire, but until now, he hadn't been able to obtain a spirit fire of his own. Noble family scions were really different. They actually had a 3rd rank Xian Thunder. No wonder Qing Feng had the guts to provoke a demon. So he had a Xian Thunder to protect him. Unfortunately, he had still underestimated the bizarreness of demons. Baiyu sighed with emotion and chose another reward.
Crimson Sun 5 Thunder. Earth Rank, Mid-grade Technique. Can 1 les H5 différents Divine Thunder.
Compatibility with Purple Cloud 9 Chain Whip, 76. Baiyu, without another word, invested life experience to fuse the two. Fusion successful. Obtained, Earth Rank, High-grade Technique, Purple Thunder 5 Lightning Transformation. Baiyu chuckled. It seems that in the future, there's a hope of synthesizing the Lightning 5 Chain Whip. After choosing his rewards, he played a Yellow Springs melody, and a bonus Soul Extinguishing melody. Strangely, this time, there was no reward in terms of Feng Shui. It seemed only sending off demons could give a Feng Shui reward. But Baiyu wasn't annoyed. He went straight back to the Xuanwu tomb. As soon as he returned to the Xuanwu tomb, a group of Zongma guards surrounded him, all flattering him. Lord Wuchang is back. This time, it's thanks to Lord Wuchang, otherwise we would have all died. Yeah, the previous Xuanwu tomb was completely wiped out. I was blind before to follow a guy like Qing Feng. Lord Wuchang, please be magnanimous and forgive this humble one's past mistakes. Just treat me like a fart and let me go. Baiyu looked at the group of Zongma guards. The familiar faces were now a third fewer. And this was with Baiyu turning the tide. Otherwise, it was hard to say how many of the 18 would have survived. In the demon tomb, Zongma guards were just consumables. Even a Zongma envoy was just a slightly higher grade consumable. What was the point of a consumable making things difficult for another consumable? Baiyu waved his hand and let them disperse. Returning to his chamber, he began to view Qing Feng's memory fragments. Qing Feng's real name was Ling Feng, a direct descendant of the Ling family, with a single thunder attribute spirit root. He was spoiled by his family and acted unscrupulously. Anyway, the family would always clean up his messes. This destined him to have a smooth journey and also led to his arrogant personality. Moreover, Qing Feng's life could almost be said to be a new bride every night, changing women like changing clothes. Let's just say, Qing Feng's experiences in that area were more than the films Baiyu had watched. Baiyu, feeling no pain, repeatedly criticized him. Unfortunately, there were no cultivation techniques or core secrets of the Ling family in these memory fragments. However, Baiyu did find out the location of the Ling family's ancestral grave. The matter of sending off Qing Feng and the high-grade red demon was finally over. From then on, every few days, they would hear the dada of footsteps. Even after requesting the patriarch's presence again, it couldn't be resolved. But in the end, it was just the occasional sound of footsteps at night, with no deaths or injuries, so everyone just put up with it. After all, there were countless bizarre things in the demon tomb, and it was hard to say.
One night, Baiyu had a dream again.
He dreamed of a pair of red embroidered shoes, dripping with blood, walking towards him step by step. He wanted to escape but found his whole body was pinned down and he couldn't move. Seeing the embroidered shoes approaching step by step, Baiyu was terrified and was about to use a desperate measure. Just then, a burly man on a bicycle came rushing over, the chain of his bike sparking. He made a handsome drift around a corner and sent the pair of embroidered shoes flying. He saw that the man was wearing a green hat, and there was a black woman sitting on the back of his bike. It was Lord Guan. Bai Yu let out a long sigh of relief. Lord Guan is reliable. When there's trouble, he really shows up. Lord Guan came to Bai Yu and, after some persuasion, insisted that Bai Yu take the black woman away. Bai Yu asked him why. Was the black woman not to his taste? Lord Guan said that he wasn't picky. After all, with the lights off, they were all the same. But one day, he woke up to find a black beauty in his arms and was instantly reminded of his third brother. From then on, every time he studied a foreign language, he felt like he was with Zhang Fei. Bai Yu had a realization and immediately patted his chest, promising that after a while when he got out, he would get Lord Guan a few white-skinned foreign language teachers, each one buxom, curvy, and with long legs. The next day, Bai Yu woke up and couldn't help but laugh. But in the demon tomb, there were no materials for making paper figures. He would have to wait at least 10 years before he could get out. Bai Yu put away his thoughts and began to devote himself to his demon-burying career. The years were not peaceful. Sometimes, demons escaped, causing heavy casualties. Sometimes, ghostly things happened, and people were terrified. Some even said they saw red embroidered shoes. Several times, Bai Yu encountered danger and managed to escape thanks to the Yellow Springs melody. But in the end, life went on. Bai Yu not only took over all the send-off business in the Xuanwu tomb, but he also occasionally helped other tomb areas with their send-offs. Gradually, he gained a considerable reputation in the Four Symbols tombs. It was because the Xuanwu Zongma envoy was the most amiable. Apart from being fond of gambling, he had no major flaws. And in the Xuanwu tomb, because of the talking puppets, the probability of demon riots was the smallest, and the casualties among the Xuanwu Zongma guards were the lowest. But even so, most of the familiar faces in the Xuanwu tomb had disappeared, leaving only Lao Ba, Lao Lu, and a few others. 10 years passed in a flash. Bai Yu's cultivation had reached the mid-foundation establishment stage, a speed comparable to those little geniuses. In the Feng Shui Dao, he had also successfully advanced to become a second-tier Dishi. After advancing to second-tier Dishi, his dragon-seeking fortune-gazing art had further improved, becoming a heaven-rank, mid-grade fortune-gazing Dharma Eye. Additionally, he had awakened 2 first-tier spirit bodies, the Yellow Earth Flame Body and the Cloud Water Spirit Body. On this day, Bai Yu went to the oddities hall again. As usual, he first bought 100 jin of Tai Sui meat. Bai Yu paid 100 spirit stones and asked, "Fellow Taoist Yeka, how much are you selling this Tai Sui demon for? The price is negotiable." His martial Dao had not broken through. He had only opened 33 Hun Dong acupoints and now urgently needed a large amount of energy. It would be best to get a Tai Sui demon. That way, not only would he have a continuous supply of Tai Sui meat, but he also wouldn't have to come and buy Tai Sui meat every time, which was too conspicuous. However, the female boss, Mu Yeka, shook her head like a rattle drum. "Fellow Taoist Wu Cheng, I've said it many times.
You only sell the meat.
This Tai Sui demon, no matter how many spirit stones you offer, I won't sell." Bai Yu was helpless. He took the Tai Sui meat and turned to leave. Returning to his chamber, Bai Yu didn't consume the Tai Sui meat. He cultivated the Heavenly Eye Avatar Grand Art. He saw a 5-foot-tall spirit would appear behind him. He sat cross-legged. With each breath, he established a wonderful connection with the spirit wood behind him. The tree seemed to be breathing along with Bai Yu's rhythm, taking in and expelling spirit power. The most wonderful thing was that a human face appeared on the tree trunk, vaguely resembling Bai Yu. Half a day later, with a thought, Bai Yu summoned the spirit wood to him and spat out a mouthful of emerald green true essence. The human face on the spirit wood became clearer and more distinct, and it actually opened its eyes. The human face spoke, "Heh, this Taoist has succeeded. The Heavenly Eye Avatar Grand Art is finally half successful. From now on, this Heavenly Eye Avatar can cultivate on its own, and the magic power it cultivates can be fed back to the main body."
Bai Yu loguait d'Artilly.
A wonderful feeling welled up in him. It felt like he had an extra pair of eyes and hands. He could receive the Avatar's perspective and feelings simultaneously. Bai Yu smiled faintly.
The Heavenly Eye Avatar is self-done.
From now on, as long as I let it cultivate on its own, it can truly take human form. Now, it's time to take a vacation and go for a walk outside. Zongma cultivators only had one chance to take leave every 10 years, called a tomb rest. They could take a year off at a time. The demon tomb lacked many things, and Bai Yu needed to go out and replenish his supplies. He still owed Lord Guan 24 foreign language teachers. Bai Yu went to Lord Bao to ask for leave. The old lord didn't make things difficult for him and readily agreed. Bai Yu took Lao Mo and left the demon tomb, feeling an unprecedented sense of freedom. The sun was bright, and a gentle breeze caressed his face. He took deep breaths of fresh air, feeling like he had returned to the human world. 500 years. This old sun is finally out.
Ah.
Lao Mo, follow me to the heavenly palace. We'll charge in and out 7 times. Lao Mo was also very excited. Woof woof woof. Old Wu. Lao Mo, received. Prepare for level 1 combat. Bai Yu led Lao Mo and charged into the small market at the foot of the mountain gate.
Man du beef?
Buy it.
Pakitolub formeux. Bewe dire?
2 of them buy it. Pack it up. Cheongji bamboo. 10 of them to start. Finally chop it into. Filling. Pack it up.
Pretty lady boss?
Pack. No, I mean pay the bill.
What is the first thing to do when you return to the human world?
Of course, it's to eat. In the demon tomb, he ate taisui meat every day. The taste was hard to describe, and he lacked seasoning. It had been torture for Bai-Yu.
Laomo, hot pot time.
Bai-Yu cut the meat and sprinkled the seasoning.
Laomo started the fire.
The man and his dog were busy. Soon, a steaming hot pot was set up on Zwang Peak. The steam was fragrant.
The smell of the human world made one feel alive.
Just as Bai-Yu finished sprinkling the seasoning, a loud laugh came from outside.
It smells so good. He could smell the hot pot from a mile away. Lu Béchamp and another person, Shijian, rushed over.
Old Bai, how did you know I was hungry?
He wanted be polite.
I'll have a piece first.
Me too, just one piece.
The 2 of them brought their own bowls and chopsticks and started fishing in the pot. Good heavens, a large pot of beef was cleaned out by the 2 of them, 1 piece each. Bai-Yu, you guys could have been a little more polite. No need to be polite, this is what we should do. While the 3 of them were bickering, a streak of light shot over from the distance.
A red streak of light shot over from the sky. Big.
Big sister. Hand over the good wine.
A large red figure descended from the sky.
It was senior sister Yen Li. She charged straight at Bai-Yu. Bai-Yu's face was directly hit by a pair of large assets, and he fell to the ground. Bai-Yu got up, covered in dust. Senior sister, it's not right to tackle with the ball. Senior sister Yen Li was not polite at all. She reached out and groped Bai-Yu's body. Cut the crap, hand over the good wine.
Bai-Yu's face darkened.
He hurriedly handed over the 100 flowers honey wine he had treasured for 10 years. Senior sister Yen Li was not polite either, drinking wine in large gulps and eating meat in large chunks. The 4 of them and 1 dog ate and drank, having a merry time. They chatted and drank, and Lao Mo would occasionally chime in. Bai-Yu had to translate for him. They ate like this for 3 consecutive days, not asking about anything else, just chatting about everything under the sun. No conflicts of interest, just for fun and happiness. When you meet people, don't talk about worldly affairs, then there are no worldly affairs. On the 4th day, Lu Beichen stopped his chopsticks and said, "Old Bai, someone wants to see you. Will you see them?" Bai-Yu picked up a piece of venison. "Who is it?" Lu Beichen said, "Han Bingyan, senior sister Han. Do you still have an impression of her? She's been looking for you many times and asked me to contact you." Actually, Lu Beichen also couldn't figure out what was so special about Old Bai that senior sister Han would be so concerned about him. This senior sister Han Bingyan was charming and moving. He had always wanted to conquer her, but senior sister Han was always as cold as ice, keeping people at 1,000 miles distance. Yet, when it came to Bai-Yu, she had repeatedly invited him. Could there be some affair between them? Not only did Lu Beichen not understand, but Bai-Yu also didn't understand. He frowned slightly. He and senior sister Han Bingyan didn't have much of a relationship. He didn't know why she was always looking for him. No matter the reason, being targeted by someone was never a good thing. After thinking for a moment, Bai-Yu nodded.
All right, avoir comme over.
Lu Beichen chuckled and took out a communication talisman, saying a few words. In the evening, Lu Beichen had long since left. 2 streaks of fiery light descended from the sky. They were 2 beauties with different charms. One had a fiery and charming figure, but her face was as cold as ice. It was senior sister Han Bingyan. The other was tall and well-built, with wheat-colored skin and powerful limbs, full of a wild vitality. Senior sister Han Bingyan stepped forward and smiled slightly.
Ah, Junior Brother Bay, I'm so glad we meet again.
Bai-Yu, I'm also glad for you. Please, have a seat, senior sisters.
Anne Bingyantes expression froze.
Why doesn't this junior brother Bai play by the rules? However, she immediately recovered and smiled. Junior brother Bai, I heard that you
Tutor your classmate.
My sister and I have always admired you. I wonder if junior brother Bai would be willing to visit our humble abode and demonstrate for us sisters.
Tutor?
He certainly wouldn't think it was because he was too handsome and made people fall in love with him at first sight. Bai-Yu said nonchalantly, I'm just slightly proficient in a few types of spirit talismans. They are just minor tricks, not worthy of your eyes, senior sisters. Senior sister Han, if you have something to say, you might as well say it directly. Han Bingyan thought for a moment. She first set up a soundproofing barrier, then her mouth opened slightly, and she spat out an object. It was a small sword that exuded a chilling cold. She asked, I wonder if junior brother Bai recognizes this object. Bai-Yu was shocked. Of course he recognized this small sword. It was a talisman sword. Although it only had 5 talisman nodes. Why did Han Bingyan also have a talisman sword? Suddenly, a flash of inspiration went through his mind. He had once obtained a jade slip that recorded the talisman sword art. There was a faint Han character pattern on the jade slip. It seemed that jade slip might have belonged to Han Bingyan's ancestor. Countless thoughts flashed through Bai Yu's mind as he thought about how to answer. At this time, Han Bingyan said again, "It seems junior brother Bai has recognized it. The talisman sword art is a secret technique of my Han family. There is a special connection between talisman swords." Bai Yu smiled helplessly. "So that's how it is. To be honest, senior sister, I have indeed cultivated the talisman sword art." Han Bingyan's eyes lit up, and even her breathing became rapid.
Junior brother Bai, quand you tell me where you learned the talisman sword art?
Bai Yu thought for a moment, then took out a jade slip and explained the origin of the talisman sword. He only said that he had killed 4 robbers and obtained a jade slip from them. Then he found the robber's cave and a buried cultivator inside. Han Bingyan's breathing became more rapid. "That was my Han family's ancestor. 5 ancestors went out on a mission and never returned." Bai Yu just smiled and said nothing. Han Bingyan looked at Bai Yu. "Junior brother Bai, I have an impudent request. I would like to ask junior brother Bai to go with us to that cave. As long as junior brother Bai is willing to help us." Han family. "That. Junior brother Bai, if you have any conditions, just mention them. We will do our best to satisfy them. Even if you want me, your senior sister, it's not impossible." She leaned over, getting close to Bai Yu, revealing a patch of snow-white skin. Bai Yu, however, ignored this charm. "Senior sister Han, I can tell you the location of that cave. You can go and find it. But I may not be convenient to go out." He didn't want to get involved with the Han family, go on a mission in a team, and then be quietly killed. There were too many such things. Although they were fellow disciples, the possibility of this happening was not high, but he couldn't let his guard down. He just wanted to peacefully do his send-offs. Han Bingyan was helpless. She knew how charming she was and didn't mind using her feminine charm to do some things. She didn't expect Bai Yu to be so stubborn and not fall for it. At this time, the well-built beauty behind Han Bingyan suddenly smiled. Her lips moved slightly, sending a voice transmission to Bai Yu. "Fellow Taoist Wu Cheng, don't be so quick to refuse. What if our Han family offers a Taisui demon as a reward?" Bai Yu was shocked and looked at the well-built beauty. He tentatively sent a voice transmission back. "Are you fellow Taoist Yeka?" The well-built beauty smiled and nodded. Bai Yu was truly surprised. In the demon tomb, Mu Yeka looked plump and bloated. It turned out that was all a disguise. Her real body was well-built and full of vitality, with a unique charm. Mu Yeka smiled.
Let me introduce myself.
"My name is Han Li. If fellow Taoist Bai agrees to help us with this, in addition to the previous conditions, my Han family will also pay a generous reward. If fellow Taoist Bai has any requests, please feel free to mention them." Bai Yu was a bit tempted. A Taisui demon would be of great benefit to his martial Dao cultivation, and he could also learn more about demons from it. Seeing Bai Yu hesitate, Han Li added, "Fellow Taoist Bai, don't worry. We just want to borrow your talisman sword to go and bury a few Han family ancestors. There won't be any danger. Our Han family can make a heart demon oath to guarantee fellow Taoist Bai's safety. And this time, fellow Taoist Liu Beichen will also be coming with us." Bai Yu pondered for a long time. Since they are willing to make a heart demon oath, and Liu Beichen is also there, the Han family probably won't try to kill me. But a Taisui demon is a one-of-a-kind deal. After weighing the pros and cons, he nodded. "All right. But the heart demon oath will be written by me." 2 days later, Bai Yu gave the heart demon oath he had written to Han Bingyan. It was a thick stack, full of heart demon oaths. Han Bingyan and Han Li were both dumbfounded. "The heart demon oath you're asking us to swear. You've written a book." Bai Yu showed a slightly apologetic smile. "Senior sister Bingyan, this oath is a little bit long. You can start from the beginning."
By the way, this is the first volume.
"The second volume will be sworn by fellow Taoist Han Li." With that, he took out another stack of oaths, also a thick book. Han Bingyan and Han Li looked at each other, seeing the helplessness in each other's eyes. But who asked them to be the ones asking for a favor? When you're under someone else's roof, you have to bow your head. The two of them each held a book of oaths and began to swear. Oath 1. During this mission and for 6 months after, no one from the Han family shall attack Bai Yu. Oath 2. An hour later, Han Bingyan and Han Li's mouths were dry. Oath 586. The Han family, including branch members, relatives, and the souls and corpses of all ancestors, shall not. Bai Yu thoughtfully poured them a cup of tea to moisten their throats. Half a day later, the 2 Han family women's mouths were sore.
OAT 4,006.
A day and a night later, Han Bingyan and Han Li's eyes were vacant, completely numb. Oath 20,726. If violated, the entire Han family shall be struck by heavenly lightning, suffer from chi deviation, have their vegetable prices rise, get hemorrhoids when they meditate, have their tofu pudding be half sweet and half salty, and have their chess games be backseat gamed by old men. The next day, Liu Beichen came to visit again and heard the two Han sisters pleas for mercy from inside the room.
Junior Broderbay, please par US. We can't take it anymore.
Fellow Taoist Bai, we sisters are about to be tortured to death by you. You are a demon. Senior sisters, just hold on a little longer.
We almost there, just a little bit more.
It'll be over soon.
Ah. À moment laté, Bay you saw the two women out.
Both of them looked like they had been played with. Their hair was messy, and their movements were numb. Liu Beichen saw this and exclaimed, "Good heavens, this old Bai is not what he seems. He looks so gentle, but he's so fierce." No wonder senior sister Han Bingyan came to him so eagerly, and even brought her cousin. At this time, Han Bingyan suddenly remembered something.
By the way, Junior Broderbay, can you let us see your talisman sword?
We need to make corresponding preparations. Baiyu casually raised his hand and released his talisman sword. Han Bingyan's eyes showed a look of joy. Fellow Taoist Bai's talisman sword actually has 7 spirit nodes. It seems your talent in the talisman Dao is even higher than we imagined. Baiyu smiled, but said nothing. In fact, his talisman sword already had 18 spirit nodes, and its power was no less than that of a magic treasure embryo. It was just that Baiyu had temporarily retracted 11 spirit nodes. Han Bingyan said happily, 7 spirit nodes, 5 of which are fire-based, that's more than enough. Then it's settled. We'll set off together in half a month. Baiyu naturally nodded in agreement. After the two Han sisters left, Liu Beichen hurriedly asked, "Old Bai, what did you do to them last night?" Baiyu, "Nothing, just had them read a book all night." Liu Beichen's face was full of disbelief. 2 beautiful women with different charms come to you, alone in a room, and you just make them read a book all night? Who would believe that? Baiyu didn't explain much and just said lightly, "Old Liu, I heard you're also coming with us this time. You should prepare in advance." Liu Beichen said heroically, "Don't worry. It's no big deal. I'll just go to my old man's place and borrow a few things." Now it was Baiyu's turn to be embarrassed. It was good to have a golden core old man. You could always ask your old man for help with anything. Unlike Baiyu, who had relied on himself all the way, careful planning, diligent cultivation, and a small cheat. The path of cultivation was as difficult as climbing to the sky. To succeed, you either had to have extraordinary talent, an extraordinary family background, or a great fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, Ho Haitao was the best example. Liu Beichen didn't need to make any preparations, but Baiyu couldn't be careless. He went straight to the Myriad Laws Pavilion. As a demon burying master, he could choose 3 earth rank techniques every 10 years. Baiyu first went to the 2nd floor and began to choose techniques. Half a day later, he had chosen 3 techniques he liked. One was an escape technique, flying grass evasion, earth rank, mid-grade. This was for his heavenly eye avatar. One was a chi cultivation defensive technique, Mengling art, also earth rank mid-grade. Its compatibility with the iron armor golden body art was 51. Baiyu invested life experience to fuse the 2. Fusion successful. Obtained, Dragon Ling golden body scroll.
Dragon Ling golden body scroll.
Earth rank, high-grade martial Dao defensive technique. When cultivated to great accomplishment, the body will have a dragon scale golden body, indestructible. The 3rd technique was an earth rank high-grade thunder technique called Lightning Heavenly Shuttle, which could be fused with a purple thunder 5-chain whip. Baiyu naturally fused the 2. Fusion successful. Obtained, Lightning 5-chain whip.
Lightning 5-chain whip. Even rank, low grade thunder technique. 1 strike, 5 hits. Extremely destructive.
Baiyu was satisfied. He had finally synthesized it. The Lightning 5-chain whip was worthy of its legendary fame, actually reaching the heaven rank low grade. After exchanging for the techniques and registering at the door, Baiyu saw Ling Yun again. This guy was getting more and more haggard. His beard was scruffy, his hair was messy, and he was slumped over the table, reeking of alcohol. And his strength was still stuck at the chi refinement realm. This time, Ling Yun just silently registered, his expression and actions flawless, without revealing any emotion. Baiyu didn't feel any killing intent either. After leaving the Myriad Laws Pavilion, Baiyu went to the Sex Contribution Exchange Point and exchanged for a total of 10,000 contribution points. The work of a Zongma envoy was dangerous, but the monthly salary was quite generous. Having been poor his whole life, Baiyu, without a second thought, first bought several earthrank arrays and various spirit materials. Then he went to a private trade fair and exchanged for many things. Among them was a technique Baiyu had long desired, the 8-gate sealing art, earthrank, low grade. Against demons, ordinary techniques were not very effective, but sealing arts often had miraculous effects. And this was for ordinary demons. If it was a real demon, it was impossible to kill, and could only be sealed, suppressed, or
sent to another world.
However, compared to the 5-element techniques, sealing arts were extremely rare. Baiyu had been searching for several years before he found a low-grade one. Baiyu, without a second thought, first spent 1,000,000 life experience points to raise it to the great accomplishment, perfected realm. In a few days, Bai had spent all his contribution points and even most of the spirit stones on him. He even bought a set of Qi refinement level armor for Lao Mo, and had a full set of custom-made armor made for himself. Half a month passed in this busy manner. Half a month later, Bai set off with the Han sisters and the others. A group of 8 gathered outside the Leiyang sect's mountain gate. On the Han family side, besides Han Bingyan and Han Li, there was a pair of twins named Han Julong and Han Qinhu. There was also a man and a woman who were also external support, named Senior Brother Chen and Senior Sister Fong. That Senior Brother Chen was the strongest, at the mid-foundation establishment stage. He took out a flying boat and said with a smile, "For long-distance travel, we can't just rely on flying. This flying boat of mine can seat 3 people, saving time and effort. I wonder which junior brother or sister would like to ride with me." As he spoke, he smiled at Han Bingyan. It was obvious that this Senior Brother Chen had a thing for Han Bingyan. The 2 Han brothers summoned 2 huge iron-feathered eagles. Bai nonchalantly took out a paper crane. He infused a bit of magic power into it, and the paper crane instantly grew to over a meter long. Consuming too much spirit power on the road was not a wise move. Bai didn't say much and directly pulled Lao Mo and Liu Beichen up. If anything happened, the 2 of them would have each other's backs. However, just then, Han Bingyan walked over and said to Liu Beichen, "Junior brother Liu, that flying eagle is too bumpy.
Let me switch place with you, okay?"
Liu Beichen helplessly jumped off the paper crane and gave Bai the middle finger. He was going to be the number 1
gigolo in the world.
He had been outdone by Bai several times. This was unbearable. The more Liu Beichen thought about it, the angrier he got. He thought viciously, "I'm going to have to make old Bai treat me to a huge hot pot feast later." Bai was even more helpless. What is this Han Bingyan up to again? As the ancient said, redheads are trouble. Bai could feel that Senior Brother Chen's gaze towards him now had a hint of hostility. Bai said decisively, "Senior Sister Han, my paper crane is too small. It's a bit hard to move around. I think you should find another place." Han Bingyan smiled brightly.
Junior brother Bai, are you so afraid of me? I won't take you.
She jumped on without a care.
Junior brother, let's go.
Bai was helpless. He couldn't just kick her off, right? He had to start the paper crane under Senior Brother Chen's unfriendly gaze. Along the way, Han Bingyan would occasionally strike up a conversation with Bai. Bai would always answer awkwardly but politely, unwilling to say much. He just wanted to complete the mission as soon as possible and get the Taisui demon so that his martial Dao could advance further. Later, he even deliberately put Lao Mo between them to save himself the trouble of talking. The group flew for 7 or 8 days and finally arrived near the Songyan market. Bai led the group to a cave. The 8 of them landed at the entrance of the cave. Han Bingyan said, "Junior brother Bai, was it here that you obtained the Han family's jade slip?" Bai nodded. "That's right. It was here that I killed several robbers and buried a cultivator's remains." He looked at Mu Yeka Han Li. "Fellow Taoist Yeka, look what we discussed before." Han Li nodded and took a spirit beast bag from her waist and handed it to Bai. She sent a voice transmission, "That thing is inside. The seal will be released after the matter is done. There are also cultivation notes." Bai scanned the spirit beast bag with his divine sense and indeed saw a red ball of meat inside. This ball of meat had no eyes or nose, and the energy inside was surging and complex. It was a Taisui demon. Bai was secretly pleased. The Taisui demon is finally in my hands. At this time, Senior Brother Chen was getting impatient and said loudly, "Since we're here, what are we waiting for? Let's go in." Senior Brother Chen had the highest cultivation on the surface, so his words carried the most weight. As soon as he spoke, several people followed him in. Bai shook his head helplessly. This group of people had really not been tempered by society. Just barging in like that without thinking of an escape route beforehand. He deliberately fell a few steps behind and patted Lao Mo beside him. Lao Mo understood and stayed at the entrance of the cave. Bai's action immediately aroused Han Bingyan's interest. She came over and asked, "Junior brother Bai, why didn't you let your spirit beast come in with you? A 4th-rank spirit beast could be of great help." In these years, Lao Mo had also successfully reached foundation establishment, at the early stage, equivalent to a 4th-rank beast. Bai just said lightly, "Lao Mo staying outside can prevent other cultivators from causing trouble." Senior Brother Chen, hearing this, snorted from his nose. "The cultivators near the market are all Qi refinement. We have 8 foundation establishment cultivators. What are we afraid of?" The 2 Han brothers, Han Julong and Han Qinhu, also disapproved of Bai's action. Only Mu Yeka, Han Li, who had been tempered in the Zongma Tower, looked at Bai with approval. Bai couldn't be bothered to care about their thoughts. He just nonchalantly walked behind the group, on high alert, ready to flee at the first sign of trouble. Just as the group went deep into the cave, Lao Mo at the entrance let out a howl. A green light emerged from his body. In the green light, a jade-green spirit would appeared. The spirit would vaguely took on human form and spoke, "Lao Mo, start working. Set up all the high-grade arrays." This was Bai Yu's heavenly eye avatar. When you're out and about, you always have to leave a way out. The man and his dog began to get busy. In the cave, the group twisted and turned and finally reached the innermost part. There was a small grave mound inside. Bai Yu said, "This is the cultivator's remains I encountered before. I buried him here." Han Bingyan took out a fist-sized spirit beast from her bosom, a third-rank spirit beast, a treasure-seeking vulture. The small vulture circled the grave mound a few times and let out a GG sound. The few Han family disciples heard this and all bowed deeply towards the grave mound. After paying their respects, Han Bingyan turned to Bai Yu. "Thank you, junior brother Bai, for burying the Han family's ancestor. My Han family will remember this kindness." Bai Yu didn't care about kindness or not. If it could be converted into spirit stones, that would be even better.
Han Bingyan's expression froze.
Why does this junior brother Bai's way of speaking always have to be so surprising? It was Han Li who came to smooth things over. "Oh haha, fellow Taoist Bai is a straightforward person. But now, the most important thing is to find the other uncles.
Everyone, summon your talisman soir.
We'll operate the array as we practiced on the way." With that, the 4 Han family members each summoned a talisman sword. Besides Han Bingyan, the other 3's talisman swords actually had 7 or 8 spirit nodes, with power comparable to a high-grade magic tool. However, their operation of the talisman swords was not very proficient. It seemed they were not their own. Bai Yu did not hesitate and also summoned a 7-node talisman sword. The 5 talisman swords happened to form the 5 elements. They began to operate in a strange trajectory, flying up and down. A 5-colored light shot out from the 5 talisman swords, shining on a stone wall. Instantly, the stone wall rippled like water, and a blue-green light curtain appeared. A man-high portal appeared on the light curtain. Han Bingyan was overjoyed.
It's the Han family's talisman array.
The uncles are inside. At this time, senior brother Chen took the lead. He summoned a turtle shell to protect himself and strode into the portal. The others followed one by one. Bai Yu followed at the back and slowly stepped in. Bai Yu entered the portal and saw that it was a stone chamber several zhang wide. In the very center was a stone platform. On the stone platform was a gilded jade box of extraordinary quality. Outside the box was a 5-colored light shield, with 5 talisman swords flying inside. At the 4 corners of the stone platform lay 4 white skeletons. The first thing Bai Yu did when he entered this stone chamber was to look for an escape route. His face was expressionless, but his mind was racing. The 4 walls of the stone chamber were all covered with array light curtains, which could not be broken in a short time. The only way out was the door behind him. If there was an enemy inside, as long as the door was closed, he wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. Thinking of this, a streak of blue light nonchalantly flew out from Bai Yu's sleeve and landed on the door. At this time, the treasure-seeking vulture on Han Bingyan's chest jumped down and chirped at the skeletons on the stone platform. Han Bingyan said, "I've confirmed it. These skeletons are the Han family's uncles." Han Julong also said, "What's there to confirm? From the clothes and the great 5 elements heavenly talisman seal in the middle of the stone platform, you can tell it must be them." He walked over and said, "Let's collect the ancestors' remains first, then take the talisman box. This will be a great success." He bowed deeply to a skeleton and was about to go forward to collect the remains. At this time, a voice interrupted him. "Wait." The owner of this voice was Bai Yu. Just now, he had used his fortune-gazing Dharma eye and discovered that the 4 skeletons all had crimson fortune. A dead person would not have fortune. There must be something strange about these 4 skeletons. Seeing Han Julong rashly go forward, Bai Yu had to speak up to stop him. Han Julong looked at Bai Yu with surprise.
Junior brother Bai, what is your advice?
Bai Yu said helplessly, "Aren't you going to check first? What if there's a problem with the remains?" This group of sect disciples really didn't know the dangers of the world. Bai Yu himself knew 9 ways to tamper with a skeleton. The key was, it was one thing for them to court death, but damn it, it would implicate Bai Yu. Han Julong was unconcerned.
Fellow Taoist Bai, don't treat us like fool.
"I naturally checked with several heavenly eye secret arts just now. There's no problem." Senior brother Chun on the side also smiled.
Fellow Taoist Bai is too timid.
Besides, Bingyan's snow vulture didn't give a warning. For a moment, everyone thought Bai Yu was making a fuss over nothing. Only Mu Yeka, Han Li, who had been tempered in the Zongma Tower, had a solemn expression. She said, "Fellow Taoist Bai is right. It's better to be safe than sorry. We should be more cautious. Fellow Taoist Bai, if you have any detection methods, just use them." Bai Yu didn't say much. He took out 2 Zhiyong talismans and threw them at a skeleton. Zhiyong talismans were most sensitive to all kinds of yin and demonic qi. They would spontaneously ignite at the slightest bit of yin or demonic qi. Unexpectedly, the Zhiyong talismans lightly landed on a skeleton without any reaction. Han Julong, seeing this, spread his hands. "See? I told you there's no problem."
Fellow Taoist Bai, don't stir up trouble.
The two Han brothers already had a bad impression of Bai Yu. Their Han family was not a top-tier big family, just good at talisman arts, and could produce 1 or 2 golden core lords every few generations. This time, their Han family's golden core lord was seriously injured and in seclusion. The Han family planned to marry off their female cultivators to win over 1 or 2 foundation establishment experts to increase their strength. The most promising was, of course, the great beauty Han Bingyan. Senior brother Chun was one of Han Bingyan's pursuers. He was strong and willing to marry into the family. If that didn't work, marrying into the Lu family was also a good choice. But Han Bingyan seemed to be more interested in Bai Yu. From the Han family's perspective, among the 3 potential sons-in-law, Bai Yu was the worst. Bai Yu had no strength and no family background. How could he be worthy of Han Bingyan? In Han Dulong's eyes, Bai Yu's action was just showing off, trying to win Han Bingyan's favor. Han Dulong curled his lip and was about to go forward to collect the remains. At this time, Bai Yu pointed to a corner and shouted, "Who's there?" Hearing this, everyone hurriedly turned to look at the corner. Taking this opportunity, Bai Yu raised his hand, and a bolt of lightning struck a skeleton.
Even rank technique, lightning 5 chain whip.
The two Han brothers reacted, their faces changing drastically.
Bai Yu, how dare you destroy our ancestors Romain? Outrajou.
The two of them each summoned their magic tools to block the lightning. Senior brother Chun, on the other hand, had a mocking smile on his lips. This guy, to win Bingyan's favor, has been trying to be different. This time, he's so audacious as to attack the Han family's ancestors' remains. He's really shooting himself in the foot.
Now is my time to shine.
He summoned a flying sword, a magic treasure embryo, and blocked in front of the skeleton. Just then, Bai Yu commanded the lightning 5 chain whip to split into 5. 3 of them were intercepted, while the other 2 turned a corner and struck the skeleton directly. Just as the 5 bolts of lightning were about to hit the skeleton's mouth spat out a black gas, blocking the 2 bolts of lightning. Then the 4 skeletons rose at the same time, their eyes blazing with ghost fire, and they let out a gaga strange laugh. Everyone was stunned by this scene.
These 4 skeletons
were really problematic. Lu Beichen summoned a jade gourd to block in front of him and asked, "Old Bai, I'm really impressed. How did you see that?" Bai Yu said lightly, "Nothing, just being cautious." He certainly couldn't reveal his fortune-gazing trump card. At this time, the others also reacted and hurriedly summoned their various magic tools and treasures to protect themselves. Especially Han Dulong, who was covered in a cold sweat. If he had just gone up like that, he would be dead or injured by now. Han Bingyan shouted, "The 4 ancestors' remains have turned into corpse demons." Everyone, quickly formed the array. The 8 of them had practiced an 8-chi sword array on the way, and they never thought they would actually use it. Hearing Han Bingyan's voice, they all attacked at the same time. 8 talisman swords or flying swords hummed, forming a sword array that charged at the 4 skeletons. The 4 skeletons let out a gaga strange laugh, each spitting out a black gas. For a moment, sword light flashed, and black gas spewed. The 2 sides were locked in a battle. However, the cultivator side had the numbers advantage and had formed a sword array. The strength of the 4 skeletons was only around the foundation establishment level. How could they resist 8 cultivators? Half a day later, the group had defeated the 4 skeletons. Streams of sword light sealed them down. Han Bingyan let out a long sigh of relief. Although there were some minor setbacks, it's finally over. I never thought the 4 Han family ancestors would have turned into corpse demons. Bai Yu, however, did not relax. He said in a cold voice, "Just suppressing them is not enough. We must get rid of these 4 corpse demons." In his opinion, not getting rid of the corpse demons was playing with their own lives. Han Bingyan hesitated. She had originally wanted to suppress the 4 corpse demons and take them back to the sect to deal with. That way, at least their bodies could be kept intact. If they got rid of the corpse demons now, they would have to destroy the Han family's ancestors' remains. At this time, senior brother Chun saw Han Bingyan's hesitation and felt this was a good opportunity to show off. He said, "Haha, they are just 4 corpse demons. They've already been suppressed. How can they cause any trouble? How about this? I'll put a few seals on them to ensure they're completely safe." The few Han family members heard this and all thought it was a better idea, and they all spoke out in agreement. Senior brother Chun, having gained the support of the crowd, was secretly pleased. He strode forward to put seals on the 4 corpse demons. Bai Yu, on the other hand, pulled Lu Beichen and nonchalantly retreated a few steps. Senior brother Chun strode forward, chanting an incantation and quickly forming hand seals. He saw a purple light flash in his hand, actually forming a seal. He quickly sealed the first white bone corpse demon. Seeing how smooth it was, he couldn't help but feel secretly pleased. If I can preserve the Han family's ancestors' bones, the Han family will surely favor me even more. Then I can win the beauty's heart. Thinking of Han Bingyan's charming and perfectly combined cold face, the speed of his hand seals quickened. However, just then, a corpse demon suppressed by the sword array suddenly showed a strange smile. Its figure flashed and actually disappeared. The next moment, a pale bony claw appeared out of thin air behind Senior Brother Chun, directly piercing through his heart. Senior Brother Chun felt a pain in his chest and looked down to see a beating heart. So this is what my heart looks like. This was Senior Brother Chen's last thought before he died. The white bone corpse demon held a bloody heart in its hand and threw it into its mouth, eating with great relish. Its skeleton actually grew a layer of flesh. Seeing this scene, Bai Yu's heart sank. He felt a familiar aura from this corpse demon.
Démonique cuit.
This white bone corpse demon was not a demon at all, but a demon.
Go.
Bai Yu, without another word, turned and shot towards the door. However, at this time, the other 3 white bone corpse demons had also disappeared. The next moment, 3 white shadows appeared out of thin air, simultaneously grabbing at 3 cultivators. And the first corpse demon also flashed and appeared in front of Bai Yu, a claw grabbing at Bai Yu's heart. Bai Yu had no other choice. The dragon-slaying blade slashed in all directions.
Mad Demon Battle in all directions.
In an instant, he had slashed hundreds of times, forming a blade curtain that was impossible to penetrate. Clang, clang, clang. A series of metal clashing sounds came. Bai Yu and the first corpse demon were locked in a battle. The dragon-slaying blade and a pair of pale bony claws clashed dozens of times in an instant. The corpse demon let out a surprised "ee." A mere early Foundation establishment cultivator could actually block its attack. And every time it used Shadow Shuttle, Bai Yu would seem to predict it and slash out with his long blade in advance. For a moment, this corpse demon was actually at a slight disadvantage. Bai Yu could block one corpse demon, but the other cultivators were not so lucky. Han Qinhu was instantly killed, his heart torn out. Although Han Dulong escaped with a substitute talisman, he also lost an arm. Liu Beichen was attacked by a corpse demon, but fortunately, he had a heart-protecting mirror from his old man to protect him, saving his life. The 3 corpse demons were ghostly and impossible to defend against. Seeing this, Bai Yu raised his hand and shot out a bolt of lightning. Just as the lightning was shot out, the first corpse demon appeared there. Roar, roar, roar. 5 consecutive explosions. The corpse demon was blasted until it was charred black, and demonic chi billowed. It was a heaven-rank thunder technique, after all. Even a demon couldn't be completely immune. Bai Yu, without another word, rushed towards the door. However, the demon, with lightning flashing all over its body, showed a bizarre smile. He saw that at the entrance of the door, a white shadow flashed, and a corpse demon appeared there. It reached out and slapped the door, seeming to want to activate the grand array to completely seal the exit. Just then, a streak of blue lightning flew out from the entrance of the door and blasted the corpse demon. It was a 3rd-rank Xian Thunder, 10-star Thunder, the backup plan Bai Yu had left from the beginning. Xian Thunder had a strong restraining effect on evil things. The corpse demon screamed, its body sparking with lightning. Bai Yu shot past, and with a casual Heavenly Fire 9 transformations, he blasted the corpse demon into a pile of bone fragments. He didn't care about anything else and was the first to rush out of the door. Then, Liu Beichen and Mu Yeka, Han Li, came out almost side by side. Han Bingyan and Han Dulong also shot out. But that Feng Shiji was a step too late and had her heart torn out by a corpse demon. Bai Yu didn't look back. He flipped his hand, and several lightning 5-chain whips struck down. Then he stomped his foot hard. In an instant, the rocks and soil in the passage rumbled and collapsed, completely blocking the passage behind them. Feng Shui Divine Ability, Changing Earth Veins. Every certain distance, Bai Yu would activate Changing Earth Veins to seal the entire passage. For a moment, the few corpse demons were really blocked. Liu Beichen, Han Bingyan, and the others were amazed. Bai Yu's escape process was so smooth it was almost an art form. Han Bingyan sighed, Junior Brother Bai has actually cultivated the earthquake art. This is a heaven-ranked technique. Only those with extremely high aptitude can successfully cultivate it. Changing Earth Veins and the earthquake art were indeed very similar, just that the earthquake art had a narrower scope of application and was extremely consuming. Bai Yu didn't plan to, so he just took it as a default. Liu Beichen subconsciously moved a little closer to Bai Yu and asked, Old Bai, how many times have you used the earthquake art? We should be safe now, right? Bai Yu showed a bitter smile. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Those weren't corpse demons, but demons. Being targeted by a demon is not so simple to get rid of. Demons were much more difficult to deal with. Once a demon remembered your aura, how could you escape? You would most likely be hunted down to death. When you were entangled by a demon, there were only 2 ways, either get rid of it, or be gotten rid of by it. Finally, the group escaped from the cave. At this time, Bai Yu stopped. Liu Beichen said anxiously, Old Bai, why aren't you going? Before Bai Yu could speak, Han Li landed next to Bai Yu and said, Fellow Taoist Bai, are you thinking of getting rid of that demon here? Bai Yu nodded. That's right. You saw the escape speed of those demons just now.
We can't escape at all.
If we continue to flee, we will only be locked onto by their aura and picked off one by one. Han Bingyan and Liu Beichen heard this and nonchalantly landed next to Bai Yu. The previous battle had already made them have confidence in Bai Yu. It was because they didn't